Oh, man. Oh, wow. I'm so happy to be here. It's Friday. All right, so it's not really Fantasy Football Friday, but I'm going to answer any and all fantasy football questions. I'm going to talk a little bit about Thursday night, updated injury report. I could have sworn, and I want to make sure I have this right because it didn't appear on the main page on ESPN, but Deontay Johnson is out. So for those of you doing fantasy football, Deontay Johnson of the Panthers is out. I have something I was kind of recommending him. I know the one person I recommended him to play for one person, so you have to be careful. Of course, when you're playing fantasy football, you got to scout the injury report. There's some interesting things that are on the injury report that I want to go over. Thursday night football. A lot of conversations about what happened on Thursday night football. I'm going to get into that. Hour 3, we have a special guest, Keas, the K in the BAK Talk Brothers will be joining us for hour 3. I'm really excited about that. He's been a guest on my show, but never on Afternoon Delight, so I'm really pumped up about that. So Friday, I kind of have an open-ended show, but I'm going to go over the games. I'm going to go over your questions. Basically, this show, our Fridays are just about your questions being answered. Whatever you want goes. That's what it is. Curtis Martin, fan for life, 28. Curtis Martin, fan for life. I got to tell you something. Curtis Martin was one of my all-time favorite players in my playlist. I have top 10 running backs of all time. Leaving Curtis Martin off that list was one of the hardest things I had to do. It absolutely sucked that I couldn't put him in the top 10 of all time. He got an honorable mention. Top 12, I think he makes it. Number 10 was the hardest one to do out of the whole list. But Curtis Martin, as far as one of my top 10 favorite running backs, absolutely does it. Anyway, he says, yo, Dan, man, I listened to you about Darnold, 18 points. I'll take that risk. Jaden might still start, but I believe they should let him sit and rest. I played Puka, though, instead of DeAndre Hopkins, 18 points. Yeah, and I recommended sitting Puka, and he had a good game. I recommended sitting Puka. I hope those of you that listen to me about sitting Puka aren't too mad. Darnold, 18 points. Actually, the face mask penalty was huge because apparently a lot of betting services, he would have gone over on passing yardage. And after the face mask, because what they do is when you're sacked in the NFL, they deduct passing yardage. It went from over to under. That lost a lot of people betting on the over on the passing yards. So that was a big deal. As far as Jaden Daniels, it's going to be a game time decision. It's going to be a game time decision. I have no idea what Washington will do. I personally think because it's a game time decision, I'm leaning him against it. The reason why is, look, it's not a division game. You're in first place. Keep them fresh for another day. That's my thought process. But honestly, I don't know. But man, Curtis Martin fan for life. I hope to hear from you on Monday, victorious. Man, this is some great love. Patricia Garrett. I know this lovely young lady. Hello, Patricia. It's so good to see you in the chat. Tigger, man, thanks for telling me to get D-Hop before the trade went down in real life. So thanks so much. 6-1 will update you Monday. Yes. I not only is he going to be productive for the rest of the year, he could be very productive Sunday. He will play. I don't know if he's going to start, but he's definitely going to play. I'm anticipating at least 4 to 8 targets. I actually think there's a good chance he scores. I think they use him in the red zone and try to get him a touchdown, try to get him involved early. So, did you see Coop make a face regarding his ankle, or is it just eye tag? Welcome, brother. Yes. Um, no. Some is actually so. What the deal is I have to work on Thursday, but I don't have to work late. But I don't watch it on Amazon. I watch the rebroadcast. Um, I heard before I watched the game that Cup got injured, so I was expecting to see an injury, but I saw the face. I heard about an injury, so I'm maybe because somebody told me he was injured before I watched the game. That's kind of what I was expecting. But no, he's not 100%. He's a little banged up. See, I really expected that Cup didn't play bad, but I thought he would be 100%, and I didn't think Nakuda would be, or Nakuda looked really, really, really good. Um, out of the two, Puka actually looked better. I think significantly better. So yeah, you're not. I don't think you're seeing anything. Not full disclosure. Maybe I'm seeing something because I was watching the game expecting to see an injury, and I saw the grimace. Um, he's somebody I'm kind of eyeballing next week. I seriously, but Puka, I think is a very solid option going here on out. Cup, I'm kind of no. So you're not seeing anything. Yeah. Jay Cruisin 7-1. What's up, brother? What's up, Dan? Here tweaking out the Friday sports weekend. Man, Jay Cruisin, I'm geeked out. There's a bunch of really great games. There's a bunch of good college games. Um, I actually predicted some college football upsets. I'm not going to bet on these, but Navy over Notre Dame. Both teams are ranked. Navy's undefeated, which is a lot of fun. They run the triple option. It's very difficult to practice and prepare for. Notre Dame, of course, is trying to get into that 12-team playoff. Everybody, when I say everybody, I'm mostly talking TV executives want to see Notre Dame in. It's a high dollar item, but I think Navy's going to beat them. I really do. It's a hard offense to play against. I mean, Navy has better, or Notre Dame has better athletes, but I'm predicting an upset. I'm also predicting a massive upset. Illinois over Oregon, which I don't think people are seeing coming, but this is just one of those college football upsets I'm kind of looking at. There's some really good games. The one negative about my life right now is that I can't watch near as much college football as I would like. Near as much. So I'm really disappointed. Pick up Bucky Irving. Absolutely. A tag. I think that what you're going to see is a lot more. I'm actually really excited when I watch Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Now I'm going to do the Chiefs Raiders play-by-play. That's going to come on later, so I'm not going to be able to watch everything. What I'll probably do is watch the red zone, and then I'll go back and watch some of the games individually. But with Tampa Bay and Atlanta, that's a game I'd like to watch in a lot of detail because that's very important and what looks like to be a very fun NFC South race. Keep in mind, if Atlanta sweeps Tampa Bay, that's massive. If Tampa Bay wins, remember they're the only team to beat Detroit. I think that they have to be a force in the NFC South, even without Evans and Godwin. What they did last week is they played Bucky Irvin and Rashad White together, and they just split out Rashad White, used him a lot as just a pure wide receiver, and I think I'm expecting that. So I would strongly suggest pick up Bucky Irving. I actually thought DeAndre Hopkins would make a lot of sense in Tampa. I really thought it'd make a lot of sense in Tampa, and I'm kind of expecting another wide receiver before the free agent, or I'm sorry, before the trade deadline happens. I'm expecting somebody to end up in Tampa. I'm just not sure who. But yeah, I would pick up Bucky Irving. So Perry, the better question is, how are you, my friend, my Canadian brother? Um, I don't know if you saw, but the line's been going up with Detroit. L'Jarius Sneed, former Kansas City Chief, big time free agent pickup for the Tennessee Titans, having a really good year. Having a really good year. He is out. This makes me want to take the over on the Lions Titans game. I don't like taking double digit point spreads in the NFL. I would rather go against them, but I don't have enough balls to take Tennessee and 11 points. I just don't. But the over, on the other hand, I might consider. I could see a situation where the Lions maybe put up 40. I love Tennessee's front seven, but this is a team that's fallen apart, and on the back end, they have some serious problems. L'Jarius Sneed being out is a massive good thing for the Detroit Lions, but as far as betting is concerned, the over is something I'm looking at pretty hard, but I might. The only action I'm seriously considering, and a $25 bet would win me $5.56, would be the Chiefs. A $25 bet for the Chiefs money line would only win me $5.56. I'm leaning towards that. I'm also leaning towards any in-game betting. If the Raiders get out on the board first, I would probably make a $25 or a $50 wager on the Chiefs, whatever the line ends up being, which could be 5.5 or 4.5. I'm also leaning towards the over on the Chiefs game. I want to go over that in some more detail here in a bit. But man, I was hoping you're better than okay, but yeah, I'm just glad you're here, man. Sean NH17, or is it Sienna? I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's good to see you here. Sit one full PPR. Okay. This is a tough one because you got some good ones. You got Bijan Robinson, you got Kamara, you got Javonte Williams, and you got Jonathan Taylor. Okay. This is a tough one. One thing about Kamara is he doesn't look like he has signed an extension, which is something I didn't have a chance to talk about yet. Another thing is that you're also going against a very tough Chargers team, possibly a rookie quarterback. That's one thing I didn't have a chance to go over is who's going to be a starting quarterback for the Saints. Out of these three, Bijan and Javonte, I'm going to tell you, my Javonte is a guy I really am like leaning towards people playing for. I'm sorry. I think Javonte Williams, Denver's going against Carolina. I really think he could have a massive game. I think Javonte Williams is a must start in fantasy this week. I've been pushing Javonte Williams because he had a really good game 10 days ago. 10 days ago, he had a fantastic game against a much better defense than the Saints. Right now, Carolina is a historically bad defense. You're playing in Denver in that high altitude. I think Javonte Williams with that extra rest. Remember, they played on Thursday. You want to protect the rookie quarterback. I really think that this is a must play. But John Robinson, I'm also leaning towards. The question is, do you want to go with Jonathan Taylor or Kamara? Now, both these guys have really tough matchups. The question is with Jonathan Taylor now. Full disclosure, I actually think the matchup favors Taylor more than it does Kamara. You have Anthony Richardson. I have no idea what to expect. I personally, if I was Houston Texans, I would put 8 in the box. I would play zero coverage. I would just say, hey, beat us. That's how I would do it. I don't know what they're going to do, the Colts. I'm kind of expecting Jonathan Taylor to have about 30 touches. If he's 100%, nobody knows. Kamara against a very tough Chargers defense with a rookie quarterback. I can see the Chargers doing the exact same thing. Just, hey, you're going to have that rookie quarterback. If Derek Carr is playing, I would really, and so Derek Carr is listed doubtful. Derek Carr's playing, I think you absolutely take Kamara and then you would sit Jonathan Taylor, which is tough because, you know, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I have a huge man crush on Jonathan Taylor. So I can't give you a great answer. You have to sit one. You're sitting either Kamara or Taylor. That would be the move. I would pay attention to the injury report. If Derek Carr is starting, go with Kamara. If it's Spencer Rattler, go with Jonathan Taylor. By the way, full disclosure, Jonathan Taylor could explode. He could also have just like maybe five carries and just ride some ends. I have no idea how he's going to be. He's been out for a couple of weeks. So, but John and Javonte, especially Javonte, you want to play. Kamara or JT, one of those two you want to sit. I would keep an eye out on the injury report. And if it's Rattler as the starting quarterback, go with Taylor. Derek Carr, go with Kamara. Sorry, I can't give you a better answer, brother, but let me know what you decide. And I hope to hear from you on Monday gloating about your victory because Javonte Williams I really think he's going to have a monster game. This is a tough one because I'll be honest. I mean, look at my shirt. I'm a Chiefs fan. Of course, I like Kelsey, but if I was in your situation, I would be leaning towards Ingram also. I mean, by the way, Ingram. I'm assuming you're talking about the Jaguars tight end. I'm assuming they're playing Green Bay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. No, that was last week. He went against Patriots last week. If I'm right, he had 5 catches, 35 yards. Full disclosure, I could see Kelsey having a huge game against the Raiders. I really could. I think that DeAndre Hopkins will get about 4 to 8 targets. I'm also predicting a touchdown. I think they're going to try to get him in the end zone. Because of that, I think it'll open things up for Kelsey. But that said, Ingram's playing against Green Bay, a young but talented defensive front seven. I'll be honest with you, I'd go more Ingram. And the reason why I would go more Ingram is because Jacksonville's not going to win this game unless they put up 27. I could see Kansas City winning a 17-7 game where they try to get DeAndre Hopkins involved and Kelsey has like a 4-catch, 22-yard performance. I could see that. Full disclosure, I think Kelsey's going to get in the end zone also. I think Mahomes is going to light it up. So just full disclosure, I mean, you've been hearing me talk about how they trolled Mahomes. If you haven't watched it, I forgot to put this up, but watch my Week 8, my award-winning Week 8 picks video. I bring up the Kermit the Frog puppet that they trolled Mahomes on. Believe me, Mahomes remembers that. Kelsey remembers that. So, but I would go with Ingram if I was you. I would go with Ingram. And by the way, if Kelsey does really well, I'm not going to be the guy like, oh, I told you so. No, I probably lean towards Ingram. The only way Jacksonville wins this game is if they put up at least 27. I mean, the defense is bad. Green Bay's offense is good. Ingram has to have a good game. South C 77. What's up, brother? A lot of drops. Would you pick up Mahomes or Mayfield? That's a tough one, man. I mean, I'm going to tell you this, man. You could go either way, but I would lean towards Mahomes. The reason why I would lean towards Mahomes is Mayfield's top two receivers are out. I have no idea how long Evans is going to be out, but Godwin's out. You got a defensive-minded coach versus an offensive-minded coach. You also got now three really good options at running back, where you picked up Kareem Hunt off the street. I mean, look, Mahomes is more likely to carry the offense than Mayfield, even though Mayfield for the first, 7 weeks has outperformed Mahomes. I would go with Mahomes. Look, yeah, you're adding a future Hall of Famer at wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to come back. One thing about Hopkins and Juju and Travis Kelce that's really interesting. You still got Xavier Worthy, a guy with 4.21 speed. That makes things very difficult to match up with. Also, I don't know when your playoffs start, but if you have a later playoffs, there's a chance Hollywood Brown comes back late December, January, and you pick up Mahomes in that playoff stretch where the Chiefs are trying for the 1 seed. You could get something really, really good. Perry, I've been saying this all off season. My favorite to have the number 1 pick in the draft is going to be the Tennessee Titans. They spent a lot of money. They got a lot of mismatched parts. This knee injury is bad. Levis isn't the answer. I'm kind of excited because I think Mason Rudolph is a much better option. If he has a good game against Detroit, it wouldn't surprise me if he's a starter here on out. And then, one of the things is that Deion Sanders said he was going to be very much involved in where his son gets drafted at. I guarantee you, Carolina, Tennessee, they're not going to be viable options for Shadir Sanders. But Cam Ward's right there in that area at the University of Miami. It's not right next to Nashville, but you're right in the heart of the SEC country. I know Miami plays in the ACC, but they're right there in Florida. Most years Cam Ward would be a Heisman favorite. So, but yeah, I there's a lot of things. Slasher. God, I'm glad to see you, man. What is up, my brother? Nice win against the Giants. Tough matchup this week against the Bengals. Tough matchup at Cincy. I'd love to hear what you think about it. What do you think about D-Hop, Dan? I know he may not be the same guy from his Texans days, but he's definitely still got a lot of juice. He left definitely a top 15 receiver, in my opinion. He doesn't have to be a top 15 guy. He really doesn't. He's a viable red zone option. The way it works is that you got a guy like Kelsey, you got a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, and then you have that rookie with 4.21 speed that really, really, really helps out. I think this is a big pickup. Little fun fact, DeAndre Hopkins was part of that Texans team that played the Chiefs in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Texans got out to a 24-0 lead. All is lost. Chiefs won that game 51-31. And DeAndre Hopkins is pretty excited about playing meaningful football. So I don't think he's a top 15 guy. Doesn't need to be. When I actually think he'll be the number 2 guy once Juju Smith-Schuster comes in. But let's be honest, the number one receiver is going to be Kelsey. But you also got here's the thing with Hopkins is he has size. He's a red zone target. Juju, who's not going to play this week, is also kind of a bigger guy. Of course, you have Kelsey. But you have the guy with the 4.21 speed that just makes things a lot. It just makes the offense really explosive and fun. So adding Hopkins, just his presence is going to open things up. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's just going to, I'm not expecting Hopkins to have, 100-yard days and, 2-3 touchdowns. I do think he's going to get in the end zone, and I think he's going to have about 48 targets. Ideally, my prediction is I think he's going to have something like 5-6 catches, about 50 yards in a score, which would be a good fantasy football option. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I would have bet money he's going to Tampa Bay. They need a receiver. It kind of made sense. It's kind of funny because the Titans are shipping a third to Kansas City for the L'Jarius Sneed trade, and the Chiefs are shipping the Chiefs a fifth, I think conditional fourth. It's going to be a fifth. The Chiefs are going to make sure that Hopkins, there's some incentives to Hopkins' contract, and I can't remember what they are, but the Chiefs are going to make sure that it's a fifth round pick instead of a fourth, unless something really crazy happens. So I understand why Stafford to the Vikings reports are coming when Sam D is play. I think it's just smoke. It's just smoke, and I don't understand it. I don't know if it's from the Vikings camp or the Rams camp. My guess would be that it's from the Vikings camp, and the reason why is that Darnold's a free agent after this year. Darnold's a free agent, and my guess is that the Vikings are trying to because right now, if I'm saying Darnold's agent right now, I'm talking to the Vikings every single day, and I'm saying, look, this is the guy you should go for, not the rookie who just tore his ACL or whatever the injury was. Look, give my guy 40, 50 million. That may sound like a joke, but Daniel Jones got a 4-year, $160 million contract not too long ago. So did Derek Carr. And, he's probably saying, look, Baker Mayfield, the Bucs signed him to a 3-year deal. Like, look, sign. If I don't know who Sam Darnold's agent is, but if he has half a brain, he's on the phone with the Vikings every single day saying, hey, Daniel Jones and Derek Carr are making $40 million a year. My guy's making 10. Look what he's doing. So I kind of think that's kind of my thought process, is that the Vikings are kind of leaking this report to just try to, temper the possible re-signing of Darnold. That would be my thought process. But it doesn't make any sense for either team. It makes no sense for either team. You can't trade quarterbacks. It doesn't make any sense. Not mid-season anyway. Craig, what's up, brother, man? That's what yes. So Craig has been emailing me, like he's in kind of an unusual fantasy football league, but he's been emailing me, and now we got him back to 2 straight. I love it. Ooh, oh, okay. This is a tough one. Now, this is tough because you have 2 tough matchups with Kamara and Taylor, but I really think you got to start them both. Okay, in this situation. With Brian Robinson Jr., he's the main guy, but you have potentially a backup quarterback, or you have a very banged up Jaden Daniels getting the start. Or do you go with Montgomery going against a tough front 7, but he splits time with Gibbs? That's your dilemma. That's your dilemma. I'll be honest with you, with the injury to Snead, um, I could see Detroit just being more of a passing type of offense and trying to take advantage of having a massive free agent corner not be there. I could see Detroit maybe throwing the ball around a little more. The thing is, though, if you get an early lead, which I could easily see, I could see Montgomery getting a lot of touches, and he only breaks one or gets into the end zone that's worthwhile. That Bears defense is just brutal, but Brian Robinson Jr. is probably going to get more touches. So it's a tough one, man. It really 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 is, because I think the Bears defense is one of the better units. I love the Titans front seven. I mean, they're very very tough to run against, but I have no idea how the Lions are going to play this. I could see the Lions giving Gibbs about 20 touches and Montgomery 10. I could see it flip flopped where Montgomery is they're going to run like a 4-minute offense after a big lead. Um, so yeah, you got to roll the dice a little bit if you decide to go with Montgomery, because you have no idea how they're going to play it. Now, because you have a tough matchup with Kamara going against a really good Chargers defense that you could be starting a rookie quarterback, you have no idea. Kamara could have a massive game. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm assuming you're in a PPR league. Jonathan Taylor, again, same situation, could have a massive game, could be terrible. So with a lot of variance, I would go with Brian Robinson Jr. You're probably not going to have a great game with Brian Robinson Jr. But I think Robinson Jr., you're almost guaranteed to get 20 touches. Montgomery, you may get 10, you may get 25. So here's kind of the way I would break it down. Robinson has the much higher floor. And with Jonathan Taylor and Kamara, you have so much variance that you need a little bit of stability. All right. Montgomery could get 10 touches. He could get 25. You really don't know. But you have no idea with Jonathan Taylor or Kamara. With Brian Robinson Jr., even though you're going against a brutal defense, a really brutal defense, you're probably guaranteed to get about 20 touches. I mean, that's just full disclosure. I don't have the exact numbers. So let's take a look. Last week against Carolina, now it was a blowout, but 12 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Only had 7 carries, but he had 2 touchdowns against the Browns. No receptions in either one of those games, but they're 2 blowout wins. So, I mean, look, I know the last 2 games, 19 carries combined, scary, but 3 touchdowns in those last 2 games. And he also has 6 touchdowns on the ground. So, I mean, I personally, my opinion, I think Brian Robinson's pretty solid, because, I mean, the closer the game, at least from what I'm looking at, except for that win against Cleveland, he only had 7 carries, but he's had double-digit carries in every game. And it looks like the closer the game, the more they want to give him the ball on the ground. Not a real threat to catch the ball, which, in a PPR league, that's one thing Montgomery is more likely to catch the ball, but I think you're more likely to get 20 touches out of Robinson than Montgomery. And since you have a lot of variance with Kamara and Taylor, that's the way I would look at it. That's what I would do. iTag, let me know what you do, man. And by the way, Monday, I hope to hear from you victorious. Craig is bragging about winning 2 straight. Yes, this is the place to brag. This is where you brag. Okay. But my wide receiver, Flowers and Debo, also David Montgomery and A-Chain. You got some tough decisions, brother. Flowers and Debo. Now, this is you want to follow the injury report. If Debo plays, I would lean towards Debo. you could get a lot of points. But one thing about Cleveland is they do have a tough defense. They do have a tough defense. So I like the fact that Baltimore's using Flowers a little more, but I would keep an eye out on the injury report today and tomorrow. I would, if Debo's on that injury report, you could go with Flowers. If you feel confident Debo's going to play, I would lean towards Debo. I think you're likely to get some carries plus receptions. I think Debo's more likely to get 10 touches than. Seriously, Flowers may get 2 touches. He may get 10. You have no idea. I would go with Debo. Plus, you get the carries in the backfield. I also like the matchup a lot better. The Cowboys defense has been really up and down. Parsons, I don't think is playing. I'm pretty sure he's not playing. I could have to confirm that, but that's a tough one. So, in my opinion, I would go with Debo if he plays. Montgomery and A-Chain's a tough one. You just heard me rant about Montgomery, what he's going to do. Same thing with A-Chain. You have no clue what he's going to do. Now, the difference is Arizona's defense is up and down. I like Tennessee's front seven. I like Tennessee's front seven more than I like Arizona's. Tua is going to play. I'll be honest with you. You have a lot of variance here. I would lean towards A-Chain. I know Mozart fumbled. I think that maybe over time Mozart takes over as full-time guy instead of A-Chain. Right now, it appears A-Chain's going to be the guy. So, but yeah, I would go with A-Chain and Debo. Keep an eye out on the injury report. Craig, let me know how you do, brother. Also, Mayfield and Prescott. You have to go Prescott. I mean, Mayfield's top 2 receivers are out. Atlanta has a really good secondary. Keep in mind, Baker Mayfield. I think it was like just under 200 yards, but 3 touchdowns last week. But I think all 3 of those touchdowns were to Godwin and Evans. So, look, you're fresh off of a bye. You need a win. You're a pass-happy offense. You got to go with Prescott. Craig, stay in touch with me. Let me know what you do. Yeah, Jameis Winston's getting the start. I'm kind of low-key looking forward to this because the Ravens defense has not been playing good. And one thing about Winston, he's a backup. He's got a big arm. Let it rip. Nick Chubb got a huge game. Siobhan, 1107, what's up, brother? Got Purcell anywhere Devo, Kittle, Jennings are playing week 8. We're going to go to ESPN, which is not the best source. You're going to have to keep tabs on this Saturday and Sunday. But Purcell's a solid start. I would say risky, to be honest, but so Mason is limited. I know you didn't ask for Mason, but Mason's limited. Debo limited in Thursday's practice. To me, that sounds good. So Debo sounds good. Limited's not a bad thing. Jennings, a non-participant, that doesn't sound good. Gotta keep an eye out on injury report. My guess is that I forgot Kittle. Kittle's limited. Okay, so my guess would be it's a Thursday primetime game. My guess would be Debo and Kittle are going to play. Jennings, you have to keep an eye out. As far as Purcell goes, if I don't know who else you got. Not the best option, but you're okay. So, hey, Craig, I'm glad to help. By the way, if you sent an email, I didn't check before I came on, but I'll check tonight and I'll check tomorrow. Uh, tomorrow afternoon, and I'll also check tomorrow very late at night. So I don't know what part of the country you're in, but at the latest it'll be Sunday morning, Saturday night. But once Sunday morning starts, I'm going to be unavailable until I go live on for Chiefs Raiders, which I would be able to give advice for Sunday and Monday night. But yeah. Let me ask you this here. Are you, I mean, are you talking just for this week or for the rest of the year? I mean, this week, yeah, obviously. For the rest of the year, I've never been. So I'm assuming you're talking Keon Coleman, the Bills. I know he had a good game last week. I'm not a huge Keon Coleman guy, to be honest with you. I have no confidence in Seattle's defense, but I mean, for this week, sure, but going forward, I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I'll just be honest with you. Like, I'm not high on Coleman, full disclosure, but I mean, Juju's always going to have a health issue. That's something you got to consider. So, Sisu, my German brother. Oh God, this is a tough one. All right, Tyreek Hill is on the injury report. They're being really weird. Like apparently he didn't practice. Gotta keep an eye out on that. That's number one. You gotta keep an eye out on. I mean, if he's not gonna play, you go with DK. Which, by the way, DK's had some really good games, and I mean, you got to put up some points to beat the Bills. So keep an eye on an injury report. But I'll be honest with you, even if Tyreek Hill plays, you may want to go with DK. Kittle or Bowers is a tough one. Full disclosure, if Kittle was healthy, I would lean towards Kittle. Dallas has that high-powered offense. You got to score lots of points in order to beat Dallas. I could see a low-scoring game. I could also see the Chiefs blowing out the Raiders and Bowers getting a garbage touchdown. The way I see it is that I think the Chiefs will really try to take away Bowers as they have some experience with a valuable tight end weapon. But look, you got Kittle and Hill that are on the injury report that may or may not play. You got Bowers and DK who are healthy and productive. I would pencil in Bowers and DK, and then I'd keep an eye out on the injury report. And if you want to roll the dice with Kittle or Hill who have more upside, I would go that. But I would just go with the starters. I mean, why risk it for against two players who have been wildly productive? That's the way I see it. Hopkins or Higgins? Higgins, like what was it? I want to say he tweaked his hamstring or something like that. He's on the injury report now. Oh, it's a quad injury a few hours ago. He's listed now as questionable. You probably want to keep an eye out on the injury report, but one thing I'm going to tell you is that Hopkins is going to play, man. I really think that he gets in the end zone. He's going to get some targets. I really think that they'll just try to get him in the end zone. keep an eye out on the injury report, but I would really lean towards Hopkins. Now, keep in mind, Higgins is more likely to have the bigger gain. The ceiling for Hopkins is going to be like 50, 60 yards in an end zone, like in a touchdown. So like in a PPR league, the maximum you're in gets 15, or Higgins, could have 100 and a score or two. So, but yeah, I mean, a questionable, that's not a good thing. And with Hopkins, he's healthy. The Chiefs really want to get him involved. Look, and this is the week to get him involved. I have no confidence in the Raiders' offense, period. And you're going against one of the better defensive units with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would go with Hopkins. Keep in mind your ceiling is much lower, but yeah, you got 3 guys that are banged up versus 3 guys who's healthy. I would go with the healthy guys. And one thing is that DK Metcalf could have a monster game. Out of all the guys you mentioned, like I could see DK Metcalf with 100 yards and a couple scores. I really could. And you got to put up points to beat the Bills. I mean, you have to put up points to beat the Bills. So, Funk! How goes it, my guy? How about the Lions being over? How about the Lions hangover being legit? Teams are 0-5, and by the next week after playing them. And I was not aware of this until you told me. It was a fun fact. It's one of the things I loved about the Chiefs. I loved about the Chiefs is during the 90s is after you played the Chiefs, because they were such a physical smash mouth team. You always, teams always lost afterwards. Loved it. But the thing is, though, is that the Lions really aren't that physical smash mouth team. They're kind of a passing team. They like to do that, creative stuff. I sent Funk something I saw on Colin Cowherd said about the Lions, which I really, really liked. I'm not a huge Colin Cowherd guy. I do follow him, and I like his show. But I think Colin Cowherd's more entertainment than informative. But I'm a fan. But he had a real interesting take about Dan Campbell. I sent it to Luke G. But I will say this: I'm kind of excited to watch them play the Titans. I really, to full disclosure, I kind of want to see how the Titans look with Mason Rudolph versus Will Levis, because I think that's something that the Titans need to figure out what they have in Mason Rudolph, because I'm adamant that Will Levis is not the guy. So, but after this week, you should be in first place in the NFC, and that's got to be a good thing for all Lions fans. Trey, what's up, brother? Got good seeing you, Trey. Yeah. By the way, it's not going to be Will Levis. It's going to be Mason Rudolph. So, and I want to see how he looks. I mean, it's a legitimate question. I liked Mason Rudolph quite a bit coming out of college. He fits the scheme that they want to run a lot better. So, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Mason is playing. It is. Your Perry's right. Yeah, I mean, seriously, here's the thing. The Titans defense is really good, especially their front seven. I mean, they got some monsters. But with Snead being out, I'm kind of wondering how they're going to attack the Titans defense. I could see a situation where Goff just, quick throws, a lot of Amon-Ra, a lot of Laporta. Maybe Laporta finally has that breakout game. Tim Patrick was such a big pickup. He could have a monster game as well. So, and one thing me and Funk agree upon is that Harold Landry would look awesome in a Chiefs uniform. I've always loved Harold Landry, one of my favorite players. Just love Harold Landry. Big time Landry fan. So, Yeah, and by the way, I mean he's a guy that I still thought that Hassan Reddick to the Lions made the most sense, but apparently he's going to play for the Jets this week, and we'll have to kind of keep an eye out. I do think there are going to be some players that move during the trade deadline. I'm just not sure who to which teams. The Lions, though, I think are a prime candidate to pick somebody up. Um, Harold Landry would be a massive trade, and you've been paying attention. I mean, Hopkins is in Kansas City. Um, Ernest Jones, who they traded for, they shipped off to Seattle. Kind of an interesting move that they made is they got a pick plus they got a starter in Jerome Baker. I always liked Jerome Baker. I think he's a solid player. So but it looks like the Titans are kind of waving the white flag and getting rid of players. He won't. By the way, his contract isn't cheap, and you have to give up some draft capital. But Harold Landry, like 2025, opposite Hayden Hutchinson, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, congrats, Curtis Martin, fan for life, man. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I know, man. I hey, I want to be honest. This is the one thing I'm 1,000% sure of. I'd rather you win and not take my advice than take my advice and lose. I always rather that. Man, I feel like such a jerk too because like I heard about him blowing up from some of my coworkers. I said, man, I recommended people not to play him. So I'm glad you didn't take my advice. Starting number 22. You're on them. It's funny. The first thing I think of is because I'm seeing Curtis Martin and I have a video top 10 running backs of all time. So when I see starting 22, I keep thinking Emmett Smith. I'm drawing a blank on who number. I should know this, but yeah. Yeah, it's normally I would worry about that, but the one thing and all right, so I'm a Chiefs man, and we're right in the middle of a dynasty. Hopefully, right in the middle of a dynasty. Hopefully, it's still happening, but um, so I'm gonna say one thing while my Chiefs are doing another, and but the thing is, the window to win a Super Bowl is short. Um, you signed a lot of players to big time deals. All right. You just gave McNeil a lot of money, Sewell, Amon-Ra, Goff. Um, but if you are going to overpay, like this is the time to do it. I mean, um, look, the offense is there. The time is now. Um, look, I know Ben Johnson turned down some opportunities, but how long is he really going to stay in Detroit? I mean, do you really think he's coming back next year? Um, Aaron Glenn's another guy who could go. Um, Mark Brunell, quarterback coach. There's a team in Jacksonville that is having some issues. I mean, are you really going to tell me that Shad Khan, who's just spending money like water, wouldn't lure Brunell with several $1 million to be new offensive coordinator? I mean, this is what happened. It's funny. I was watching while I was watching Thursday Night Football. It was like John Harbaugh and McVay have had like multiple offensive and defensive coordinators that have left to become head coaches. Kevin O'Connell was one of them for the Vikings. So, if you're going to win, and you're Detroit, I think the time is now. I think if you're going to overpay, this is the time to do it. So, excuse me. Pick 2, Amon Ra, Jaden Reed, Devontae Smith, or Wendell. Jaden Reed just turned healthy as I'm typing this. Well, I mean, Amon Ra is the no-brainer. The other 3, you kind of got to think about. The matchup favors Reed the most. Bengals defense last couple of weeks has really stepped up. Plus, you have A.J. Brown now. Wendell Robinson, I've never been high on, but you're playing against the Steelers. You have to think about like how they're going to handle things in Pittsburgh. I would go with Amon-Ra and Jaden Reed. I would pick Reed just because I like the Reed matchup against a bad Jaguars defense. So, but I mean, the one thing I got to tell you about Reed is that some variance. So be careful. But the one thing is if he blows up, you're in really good shape. And you have to, Amon-Ra's a no-brainer, in my opinion. DJ Wavy, Bo Nix, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. All right, so after what I saw last week, I would lean towards Wilson. However, Kyler Murray, I'm not buying Miami's defense at all. And you have some upside, but you've also had some really bad weeks. Carolina's defense is playing at an all-time terrible, terrible level. I mean, the thing is, though, is that I could really see I could see a situation where Denver just runs the ball. I think Javonte Williams is going to have a massive game. So, I mean, I really want to say Russell Wilson. I really do, based on last week's performance. But I mean, you have a team with the Giants that actually has a really good defense, but the offense is struggling. And when you have struggling offense going against a great defense, I could see Pittsburgh just trying to get 20 points and saying, "Hey, we're good. We got a couple good running backs." So, I mean, in this particular situation, I think you go with Wilson or Murray. I would go with Murray because I don't have confidence in the Miami defense. With Tua, you have a very unknown quantity, but the offense has the potential to score 30. Well, if Miami's offense puts up points, Kyler Murray is going to have the opportunity to play in a shootout. All right. Russell Wilson's not going to be in a shootout. Okay. Pittsburgh Giants, no way that's a shootout. You got Deontay Johnson, Andy Dalton's out for Carolina. The defense is bad. Is there a chance that there's a shootout in Denver? Unlikely. But if Carolina puts up some points, do I think Bo Nix could score some? Yeah. Sure. Short answer is I would go with Kyler Murray, but his performance has been and there's a good chance you start Murray, you may get like 10 or 12 points. Kyler Murray could also do 300 and 100, and he's the only one out of these that can do that. So I'm not saying you don't have the potential on Nix or Wilson. Wilson can't do 100 yards on the ground. Against the Panthers defense, you never know. But I would go with Kyler Murray. DJ Wade, let me know what you do. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and when I come back, I'll be back with hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. So stay tuned. All questions will be answered. As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit, and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video is in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. It really helps out when you hit that subscribe button. So if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you're notified about upcoming videos and live streams. Comments really help this community out. So drop a comment, ring the bell, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Wait, you haven't watched the award-winning NFL Week 8 picks video yet? How will you know who wins and what the score is? Okay, lucky for you, the link is in the description below. Finish watching the show, then watch this great video. Drop a comment on your predictions for all 16 games or just your favorite team. It really helps the algorithm out. Now, back to the show. All right. Yes. All right. We got hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. Thank you so much. A-Tag. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much, man. Forgot to add a Duze to the second question. Oh, drop a Duze for Waddle. Ooh, boy. That is a very, very, very tough question because you have such an unknown. You have such an unknown in Miami right now. I hate to do this, but I need a little more information. You're not starting a Duze, if I'm correct. Like a Duze is not a viable flex or wide receiver number 2. If that's the case, absolutely. If you're playing a Duze, and keep in mind, I mean, DJ Moore's number 1. You also have Keenan Allen. You have Commit. They're using Swift more. The thing is, though, with Miami now, Tyreek Hill is on the injury report. Tua is going to play, so you have some potential there in Waddle. I think the upside for Waddle is there. It's just I think even though there's more weapons in Chicago, you do have a higher floor with Oduze, but what are you getting? If Oduze is on your bench, absolutely make the move. If you're using Oduze and you need him for some points, with Waddle, you have such an unknown that it's hard for me to bank on. Now, here's the plus side. Out of these two, which one's more likely to get 100 and a score? It's definitely Waddle, especially if Tyreek Hill doesn't play. So you're rolling the dice here, but I mean, I need a little more information. Gut reaction is if Oduze is on your bench, 100% make this move. If you're using Oduze as a low-end 2 or a low-end flex option and you need some points, then don't do it, because with Waddle, you have a massive ceiling, much higher ceiling. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, out of these two, it's no question Waddle's more likely to put up 100, especially with Tua. But you could get skunked. So that's not really, really, really great answer, I know, but I heard about that. I do think he's going to play. Again, ESPN's never the best source for injury reports, but I got it pulled up. I know he's doubtful, but um, and this just came in. This came in just recently. That said, and by the way, I've been wrong a couple times this year. Like, remember with Neighbors, I was like, no, he'll be fine. And he missed a couple weeks. So I could be lying to you completely. Um, I do think he'll play. Gotta keep an eye out. Yeah, this is tough, man. It's sad because DK Metcalf, this has been his most, steady season since, for a long time. But it's an MCL injury week to week. I do think he's going to play. I do think he's going to play. We have to keep an eye out. I've been wrong several times this year. 3 hours. JR, please stay in touch with me. Let me know. If you don't follow me on social media, you can drop a comment in any one of the videos, whatever you want to do. But stay in touch, and I would absolutely start both. Hatters House 710. What is up, my brother? Go Lions. I would be floored if they didn't win. Leaning towards the over with the L'Jarius Sneed injury, and but I mean, I wouldn't touch the point spread. I mean, it's 11 by ESPN. This is a tough one, Monty or Brian Thomas Jr. I normally would love a 3-down back more than normally I would love a 3-down back more than I would go with a receiver. So the thing is that I have no idea what they're going to do in Detroit. And I love the Ryan Thomas Jr. matchup a lot. You're going against a bad you're going against a very bad. I mean, I'm exaggerating because the defense has been improving. They got a lot of interceptions, but I like the Brian Thomas Jr. matchup against Packers more than I like Montgomery against the Titans. That said, you have a 3-down back who's definitely getting more touches. It's a tough one. I really think Brian Thomas Jr. could have a massive game. I really think 100 yards and a touchdown's not out of the question. Montgomery, you may get 10 touches, you may get 25. You're going against a tough matchup. If Detroit guts out to an early lead, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Titans coming back. And if that's the case, Montgomery, he may get 20 touches. Normally, what I would tell you is that you have a higher floor with the running back. This isn't the case. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a lock to get more points than Montgomery. But I think Montgomery may have the higher upside because I could see Detroit just saying, you know what, we're up by 20. Montgomery's going to get 20 to 25 touches, or what you could do if there's a chance that the Tennessee puts up some points, I could see Gibbs being in the lineup more than Montgomery. Not giving you a great answer, I know. I'm not giving you a great answer. Look, if your Mahomes and Ingram trade goes through and you're starting both of those guys, I would go with Montgomery. If that trade doesn't go through, I would go Brian Thomas Jr. because I believe it or not, I think you're almost better suited to get for Brian Thomas Jr. to have the higher floor, which is normally just the opposite. Normally in a full PPR, I want the 3 down back that I know is getting more touches. I don't know what they're going to do in Detroit. And you have a very tough front seven, but you're also missing one of your star defensive backs. In order for Jacksonville to have a chance against Green Bay, they're going to have to score 30. And I think they know this. I wish I could give you a better answer. If your trade goes through, go with Montgomery. If it doesn't go through, go with Brian Thomas Jr. because you're going to need some points, and he's more likely to get you the bigger points. So, $2 super chat from I don't know, man. Man, thank you so much, man. You got a question, I got an answer, man. Let's figure this out. I really don't know who to start from my running backs and flex. My team is pretty stacked. Saquon, Bajan, J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor. I also have Drake London flex, ATM. Is that Travis Etienne? Is that what I'm thinking? If you're talking Travis Etienne, and just clarify this, he may not play, so that can't be it. Oh, at the moment. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okay. I got it. Okay, I was thinking ETN. All right, so let's figure this out here. Okay. Jonathan Taylor's coming off of an injury. You're going against a tough Texans defense. You have a team that, with Anthony Richardson, I have no confidence in. So let's rule out Jonathan Taylor, even though he's one of my all-time favorite players. I love Jonathan Taylor, but let's rule him out. Okay. Cincy's defense is pretty good, but I think you have to start Saquon Barkley. Barkley's so let's break this down here. You got 3 out of these guys. I would start Saquon. Let's roll out Taylor. Okay. As far as Drake and as far as Drake London, I like 3 down backs more than I like receivers. Usually, the other question between Brian Thomas Jr. and Montgomery, I almost want to lean towards Brian Thomas Jr. So, your issue is with Bajan, J.K., and Kareem Hunt, and you got 2 out of these 3. All right. I kind of like Dobbins against the tough Saints defense because if Carr plays, Saints have a good chance. I think with Rattler, you really don't. And if that's the case, I could see Dobbins just getting those carries. He's got home run speed, even though he's a big dude. All right. Carr plays, it's a little different of a situation. But if Rattler is the quarterback, I think Dobbins is a must. You have Bajan and you got Kareem Hunt. Now, with Kareem Hunt, you have a little bit of an unknown. I would have told you before the DeAndre Hopkins trade, Kareem Hunt's going to get 20 and 25 touches. He's going to get a lot of – I do think he's going to get some – like he'll have more receptions this game than he's had in the past. Without Wilkins in that defense, the Raiders didn't play bad defense last week against the Rams. This is a little different though, going against Kansas City, which I don't know if you saw the my video or in the short where the Raiders had a clip. You may have seen it anyway, where the Raiders had the Patrick Mahomes doll dressed up as a puppet, and they called him a bitch. Chiefs remember that. Chiefs also remember losing on Christmas to the Raiders last time the Chiefs lost. So Kareem Hunt, you had some unknown, but I'm kind of picking a big day for Kareem Hunt. I'll be honest with you. As far as the Chiefs offense, I'm kind of leaning towards everybody on the Chiefs offense. So your question would be Bajan and JK. Rattler, go with JK. Now, taking Kareem Hunt over John Robinson, is that a homer pick? Yeah, it is. The reason why I say that is because if you're Tampa Bay and actually, I apologize. I got a little mixed up. You're Atlanta, right? You're going against Tampa Bay. If I'm Tampa Bay, you have some defensive backs. You have some players back from injury. Remember what happened last time? They put up all those yards, 36 points. That's not going to happen again. That said, but John Robinson's tough. So I'm not giving you the best answer. I know. Saquon's a must start. You got to do 2 out of 3 with John, JK, and Kareem. As far as Drake London, if you think he's going to do 10 for 150 and a touchdown again, great. But I kind of see a defensive-minded coach with a lot of those starters coming back. I would lean against it. So that's just I think you're going to have a much lower scoring game in Tampa this time around than you did last time. I don't think you're going to see another shootout. Personal opinion only. But that's kind of my thought process. So if Rattler's the quarterback, I think Dobbins is a must. Pay attention to the injury report. And then you have to figure out between Bajan and Kareem Hunt. Higher upside with Bajan. As a Chiefs fan who's been kind of circling this game, I'm going to tell you Kareem Hunt. So Saquon, Dobbins as your running backs. If Rattler's the quarterback, pay attention to that. Choose between Bajan and Kareem Hunt. I haven't used this expression yet today. What's your favorite flavor, strawberry or chocolate? It's your personal preference. For me, it would be Kareem Hunt. You can go with Bajan Robinson. I wouldn't be mad at you one bit, especially with what happened just a few weeks ago where Atlanta's offense exploded. But I just, you have to realize several starters are back on that Tampa Bay defense, specifically Antoine Winfield Jr. So I would really lean towards Kareem Hunt. I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm wearing a Chiefs shirt. So yeah. Let me know what you do. I don't know. And thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really, 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 really appreciate it. You got a good point, Funk. Just because they're creative doesn't mean they're physical. I don't equate creative and high-powered passing offenses as physical usually, but the Chiefs towards the end of last year were more of a physical smash mouth type of team. Detroit with that offensive line does beat you up, and numbers don't lie. I mean, sometimes you got to read into it, but you're right. I mean, 0-5 after you play the Lions, something's there. Would you trade Purdy and Pank Dell for Love and Jameson Williams? That's an interesting trade. You do know, you are aware that Williams is out for the next couple of weeks, so you're banking on Williams' upside. As far as Purdy for Love, that's a real tough one. I'm gonna level with you. I like Love upside. I like his potential a little more than Purdy, but with Purdy, because you're doing this for the future, right? But with Purdy, I think you have some better matchups. All right. You have Dallas. Now at Tampa Bay is a tough one, but home against Seattle, at Green Bay, that's a November game. You could have some weather conditions, but if weather's okay, at Buffalo, oh wow, okay, at Buffalo's tough. Week 13, probably a playoff game. Home against Chicago, another tough one. Rams, I was sitting here and I was going to try to rant off all these better matchups, but I ended up biting myself in the butt here. Let's take a look at Jordan Love's matchups. At Jacksonville, probably going to have a good game. Detroit, no offense, fun game, but probably not the best. A week 10 bye. At Chicago, but after the bye. 49ers defense is banged up, but still good. Miami, no confidence. At Detroit, maybe. At Seattle, no confidence. Saints, you never know. The week 17 and 18 is tough, but you're probably finished with your playoffs by then. Huh. Kind of talked myself out of that answer. Matchup, talent, weapons, Jordan Love. Huh. Tank Dell for Williams. Well, when Collins comes back, he's going to be faded out. He's a fun player. But I'm guessing you have Purdy and Dell. Well, look, you're if you make this move, you're rolling the dice a little bit. I didn't realize it till I started breaking it down, but Love's matchups are much better and his upside's higher and he has better weapons. You remember he was injured. Tank Dell, when Collins comes back in a week or two, how productive is he going to be? I don't know. I don't know about Jameson Williams when he comes back. I mean, Laporta is I think he was banged up earlier, so that's a tough one. If you can deal with Williams being out for a couple weeks, I mean, you're making this move for the playoffs. I would make it. I think you'll be more productive with Love than you will Purdy. You have more weapons, and you also have better matchups. This isn't a cookie cutter answer because if Tank Dell is somehow in your lineup, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if he's your wide receiver number 2 or your flex, you're not in good shape anyway. But if Dell's on your bench and Williams you're planning on your bench, which would make sense, do it. I mean, there's some ifs here, but I like to trade. I like to trade. In a couple weeks from now, maybe Williams is a low end wide receiver number 2 or flex option, and Love's probably putting up more points than Purdy. Thoughts on Rashad Bateman if Flowers is out? It's still I love Bateman so much coming out Minnesota. I love this guy. And it fantasy wise, it's just so up and down. This week, I wouldn't be high on him at all. You're playing against a really good Browns defense, and I'll be honest with you. Like I do think you have to play Lamar, and what am I going to do? Tell you to bench? Bench Derrick Henry. I'm not going to do that. You have some potential with Bateman, but I wouldn't be banking on it. I think you have other options. I would think. Hey John, I don't know. I don't recognize you, man. Not too many people have the blank just the face. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying not a lot of people do, so I don't know. But I don't recognize you. Please hit the subscribe button. But don't know this for a fact, but I really want to believe you have better options. Even though I loved Rashad Bateman, he was a guy coming out of Minnesota. I thought it was a great fit. It just hasn't worked out. And there's a reason why he took Flowers anyway. So, don't get me wrong. I mean, this may be a game where, hey, they're going to stack the box to take away Derrick Henry, and Bateman gets a long touchdown. If you're going to play Bateman, that's what you're banking on. So I'm not really high on him. I'm almost positive Najee Harris is going to play Monday. I'm on ESPN, which is not the best thing in the world, but he's not even on the injury report. So I tell you the truth, I think Najee Harris is a guy you have to play right now. If you got him on your roster, he's a must play. So John, what's up, brother? Hey, brother, should I trade JSN and Hawkinson for Marvin Harrison Jr.? My other receivers are A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Pickens, and Dobbs, and my tight end is Andrews. Well, I mean, going forward, Hawkinson, I think is going to be rather productive, and I would start Hawkinson over Andrews. The issue that you have is that Jackson Smith and Jigba, let's just take a look at his stats real fast. Because if Metcalf doesn't play, then he's a good option. But I mean, what's he doing this year so far? Let me see here if I can pull up his numbers. 37, 319, and 1. I mean, unfortunately, out of those 37, he got 12 in week 2. But I mean, his last couple of games, 3 for 9, 5 for 53, 4 for 31. Did have a touchdown against the Giants, but not really productive. Here's what you're doing is you're banking on some massive upside with Marvin Harrison Jr. And my guess is that when you drafted, I'm guessing, I don't know if you traded for him, drafted for him, I don't know. When you drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, you were really banking on a little more production. Marvin Harrison Jr. in the last 3 games has 5 catches for 57 yards. That's 3 games. Now, I do expect the production to go up, but why hasn't it been that way all along? I really don't want you to get rid of Hawkinson because I know Andrews had a couple touchdowns, and you're probably thinking, "Oh, he's back," and I don't think so. I think you want to keep Hawkinson because I think you're going to get a Pro Bowl caliber tight end who's really going to add to the offense. I like people taking chances, but man, I mean, I get why you want to trade JSN, but I mean, I don't see this helping your team out. I mean, AJ Brown and Pickens are probably your 1 and 2. I really want you to keep Hawkinson. I'll be honest with you. If Metcalf doesn't play, I would roll the dice with JSN. So I'm not a fan of this trade unless you're. I don't know how I don't know if you saw or Keaton Talk Sports. He's been a guest. He's a huge Ohio State fan. Maybe you're a Buckeyes fan and you're buying into Marvin Harrison Jr.'s upside, which I wouldn't blame you. And I also see Tua or Kyler here. That's another good one. Because if you do this trade, which I have to admit I'm leaning against. But if you're just saying, hey, Dan, I'm going to bank on Marvin Harrison's upside because I'm not using JSN. I'm not banking on Hawkinson coming back. I got Andrews. I'm going to bank on upside. I get that. And if you do make this trade, you 100% have to go with Kyler Murray. I would go with Kyler anyway. I'm leaning against doing this because I think in Hawkinson, starting next week, I mean, obviously playing Andrews this week, starting next week, that's your starter, not Andrews. DK Metcalf doesn't play, there's a possibility you have JSN as your slot or flex. I'm sorry. I don't know where I came slot from, I get why you want to do it. I get it. I get it. I'm leaning against it, but I get why you want to do it. And by the way, if you do make the move, John, listen, I'd rather you don't not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose. If Marvin Harrison Jr. blows up against I'm not sold on Miami's defense at all. Not sold at all. If you do make this trade, I would definitely recommend starting Kyler over Tua. You may want to figure out a way to put Marvin Harrison Jr. in there and roll the dice. But I mean, I look at it as the way I look at this trade is that you're not really getting much, and you're losing what I would think is a starting tight end down the line, a potential tight end that's going to do you a lot more than Andrews, even though he had a couple touchdowns last week. Let me know what you do, man. Oh, you Derrick Henry. Well, that's kind of a well, yeah, Derrick Henry. That's a good one. Boy, that's a tough one, John. I'm gonna tell you what. With Stevenson, I have no idea because the Jets defense is not the same. This isn't the same Jets defense. I was just shutting people out. But I mean, he hasn't done much the last couple of weeks, so it's really, really, really hard to say. I mean, it's really, really hard to say. But I mean, I really like this kid. This kid's just one of my I just have such a man crush on this guy. But I mean, look at what he did against a bad Jags defense last time he played. 7 carries, 18 yards, 2 receptions, 7. I just don't like the Jets defense. And you have a rookie quarterback, and he's been producing as far as fantasy football is concerned. You got a legit number one receiver in Pickens, but you have a 3-down back with some massive upside. I talked about JSN. If Metcalf doesn't play, it's an excellent option. Dobbs, I have no idea what's going on with Green Bay's offense. You never know. Like this question right here: do I want to go with Wicks or do I want to go with Watson? By the way, like by the way, full disclosure, when you said this, I was thinking, am I just on crack today? I don't know why. So when you put this down, I'm sorry, I just had a brain freeze. All right. Here's the thing with Russell Wilson. Pickens is a viable number one receiver, low end 1, high end 2. I have a man crush on Stevenson. Um, he's a running back. You're playing against a Jets defense that has struggled. You have a rookie quarterback. I could see a situation where Stevenson does very, very little for you. I really could. Stevenson's the only one, though, out of here that can get you 20 touches. I mean, I'm looking at these other questions you have. I mean, you don't have. I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, I like AJ Brown. I mean, unless you make so. Listen, if you make the trade for Marvin Harrison Jr., right? If you make the trade for Marvin Harrison Jr., I could see a situation where you're going Harrison Jr., Kyler, AJ Brown, and maybe you want to flex Pickens. The way you have your lineup set up now, I would recommend starting Pickens and flexing Stevenson. That's what I would do. Out of these guys, Pickens is most likely, and normally it's flipped, but normally when you have a 3-down back with some receiving ability, because of the touches, the floor is higher with the running back than it is with the receiver. I think it's flipped. I think Pickens has the higher floor, Stevenson has the higher ceiling. Of course, Stevenson's going to have the higher ceiling. The way your lineup set up, John, I would recommend Pickens and Brown as your starters at receiver, and then I would flex Stevenson. That's what I would do. Let me know what you end up doing, man. And by the way, if you don't take my advice, I don't mind. I just want you to win. And I'm telling you right now, it looks like unless you pull the Marvin Harrison trade and you start Harrison and AJ Brown, I'm assuming you're starting AJ Brown. I could see a situation where you want to flex Pickens over Stevenson. But I mean, look, I mean, 3-down back with a rookie quarterback against a defense that struggled this year in the Jets just makes a lot of sense. Let me know what you do, man. No, you know what? You're right. And they can. I haven't seen that. I really haven't seen them play Smash Mouth, and that's why they're playing Gibbs more than they're playing Montgomery. So that's why I would like to see the Lions play more Smash Mouth personally, but my sister got this for me. Keas will be on in about 20 minutes. I am so geeked out. I think I'm more geeked out and excited than Keas is. Keas is probably napping, but man, Keas, thanks, brother. Gamer Gator, $2 super chat. God damn. What a great day. I've had a few super chats today. This is just unbelievable. Denver Gator just giving some love here, man. This is just awesome. As a matter of fact, the St. Brown Brothers podcast said, oh, dude, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown's show. I get a chance. I watched more of the clips than anything else, but yeah, I like the episode. He had Fields in there. I didn't see that clip, but I can see him going, they're doing too much, as in maybe they need to be more physical. I don't know. Miguel Ortega, what's up, brother? Hey, Dan, pick one for the week, Tua, Rogers, Murray. Boy, that's a tough one, man. I don't want to bank on Tua at all. I'm going to level with you right now. I would, let's eliminate Tua. All right. Rodgers could legitimately have a big day. New England's defense laid an egg. There's some question mark. Look, you lost 6 straight. The head coach implied that team was kind of soft. Rodgers in a must win. Devontae Adams, like, I mean, Kyler Murray in Miami could have one of those like all-time great games. I don't believe this, man. Get your Bertha a Twinkie on me. And then, oh, look at this. Amazement. A $5 super chat. 40. You know what? Amazement. Before Keas comes on, I'm going to have an energy drink. Thank you so much, man. Keas is coming on, and I am so geeked out. So I got some chats here, and I said I'm going to get every question answered. I'm going to do my best. We're going to answer all questions. I'm going to have to stay here late. That's okay. You have massive upside with Murray. I think you're going to get some production out of Rodgers. All right. You have a much bigger ceiling with Murray. You have the higher floor with Rodgers. So, Miguel, if you're projected to win, I would go with Rodgers and take the steady points, because you're out of all the quarterbacks here, I think the highest ceiling, or I'm sorry, the highest floor is Rodgers. Murray could have one of those days that could be legendary in fantasy. He could have a 300-100 day. And if you're in a league that gives you a bonus for 100 yards rushing by a quarterback or running back, he could have one of those days. I'm not buying Miami's defense. Patriots last week's, that was the first week that you saw the Patriots defense kind of. So I wish I can give you a cookie cutter answer. I can't, but I would cross out Tua. You want to roll the dice and go with the upside, go with Murray. You want some steady production, go with Rodgers. Depending on how the rest of your roster looks, if you got some steady performers like somebody like CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, if you got some of those guys at the wide receiver position, steady performers, and you just want to roll the dice a little bit, go with Murray. If you have some lineup, guys that could be up and down, then go with Rodgers. This isn't a cookie cutter answer, unfortunately. This isn't a definite you do this or that. So I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better response, but it's between Rodgers and Murray, and it kind of depends on your team and your situation. If it was me, I don't have any faith in the Miami defense. And with Tua playing, there is a chance it's going to be a shootout. In a shootout, I like Murray a lot more than Tua. But I think Rodgers is almost a lock to have 1 or 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards. So, I mean, depending on the way your league works, you're probably leaving 15 to 20 points on the table, because Murray could have 130 yards and 2 or 3 picks and a fumble or 2. But me personally, I like to gamble a little bit, and I might go with the Murray upside, but I don't know what your situation is. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer. I hope the Chiefs zig. I can't wait to have you on. We're going to talk about this. Don't be surprised if the Chiefs run up the score a little bit. Oh, God, you don't even use them? Yeah, make the trade, improve your. Yeah, I would do that. let me know. Yes, Orion, I'm glad you did, even though I recommended against it. With Bears defense, I NFL casual, welcome, brother. I'm sorry it took so long to get to your question. I don't recognize you, so I hope you hit the subscribe button. I think it's a good play whether he's playing or not. I think the Bears defense. You got a lot of pass rushers. You got a good opportunity. Look, you're either playing against a banged up rookie quarterback or Marcus Mariota, who I knew wasn't going to be. I heard a lot of hype about him. I don't want to, you know what? I'm behind on comments. I'm not going to rant on Marcus Mariota, one of the greatest college quarterbacks ever. But yeah, I think it's a good play, whether he's playing or not. And by the way, I didn't know it was definite that he's not playing. He's either banged up or he's not playing. I think the Bears are a good defense either way. Let me know what you end up doing and stay in touch. I hope to hear from you again. Let me know how you do this week. Would you flex? Okay, so you didn't take my advice. So hopefully I get this one right. Oh, you have some great options, by the way. All three of these options are great, but I've been saying this over and over and over again, and I'm going to keep pounding the table. I think Javonte Williams is a must start in fantasy football. You're going against an all-time bad defense in Carolina. You're playing in Denver. That mile high, that's a real thing, the thin air. I really think that Denver's going to have a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, and then they're going to rely on the 230-pound running back who's been healthy. I think Williams is going to have a monster game. I'll be honest with you, all three of these guys could have good games. All three. There is not a bad option here. Keep an eye out on the Debo report if you want to go that way. I think Javonte Williams is the clear-cut answer, though. Oh, 2 out of 3. Well, okay, so Javonte would be 1. See, here's the thing. Debo could be used in the backfield. God, that is really hard because I love Brian Thomas Jr., and I could see him having a big game. Because I really think Green Bay is going to put up, I honestly think they're going to put up at least 24, probably a 30 against a bad Jacksonville defense. So I can see, what do you do when you're going against a team picks up 30? Use your number one weapon. But Debo can be used in the backfield. He can be used all over. Keep an eye out on the injury report. If he shows up at all on Saturday, go with Brian Thomas Jr. because I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to have a big game. But how do you turn down a running back who's getting carries? That's a tough one. Javonte Williams is a must. If Debo's on the injury report, I would go with Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's going to have a big game. Oh, this is a good one. Anthony, what's up, my brother? Now, I'm sorry. I'm a little behind on comments, so I apologize. Should I trade Garrett Wilson for Jonathan Taylor PPR redraft? Now, keep in mind you have some – I still think you're going to get a lot of production out of Garrett Wilson. And there is a risk because you don't know what you're getting out of Jonathan Taylor, plus with Anthony Richardson as the quarterback, which I don't think will last. I would go with Jonathan Taylor because sooner or later they're going to go with Flacco, and I think you're going to see an uptick in Taylor's performance. I still think Garrett Wilson's still a solid wide receiver number 2. Jonathan Taylor could be a top 5 fantasy football player. They got to bench Anthony Richardson, but I think it will happen. So I would go with Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. By the way, if the trade doesn't go through, Garrett Wilson's still going to be productive, even with Devontae Adams in New York. So, like, you're not missing out. And by the way, I'm just warning you, like, Wilson's still going to be productive. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if his production goes up just a hair. He's not getting 18 to 20 targets anymore, but he may have, 8 catches, 100 yards, and a score. Or before he was getting where his ceiling was more like 12 catches, 90 yards, and a score. So, I mean, if your trade doesn't go through, you're not in bad shape. But Jonathan Taylor has a chance to be a top 5. I mean, period. I mean, there's no ceiling on how good Jonathan Taylor could be. Part of that has to do with they have to bench Anthony Richardson, which I think will come sooner than later. This week, by the way, may not be good, but going forward, you could have some monster games out of Jonathan Taylor. If Jaden Daniels is out, should I roll a Dak or drop him for a Geno? I'll be honest with you. If Jaden Daniels plays, I would still go with Dak. I mean, the Bears' defense is for real. And he's not going to be 100%. Dak's in a must-win situation. They're a pass-heavy offense, so I would do Dak. With Seattle, you have a tough matchup with the Bills. I would strongly suggest going with Dak. Jacob, let me know what you do, brother. I would rather you not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose, but I would go with Dak this week, definitely. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one. You have a really good – you have two teams that – you're going against two good defenses, okay? Chuba Hubbard's going against a really good Denver defense. That said, Deontay Johnson's out. Bryce Young's getting the start thanks to an automobile accident. Chuba Hubbard could be in a situation where he gets 30 touches. Now, here's the deal. Chuba Hubbard's probably going to get more touches. I kind of like Rachaad White in this situation because I really think that what they did last week is they used Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White in the same backfield. They split out Rachaad White as a receiver. And I really think that you're going to see more of that. So I'm leaning towards Rachaad White. But Chuba Hubbard's going to potentially get 30 touches this week. This could be a situation where if Denver blows them out, maybe they decide to go with a little more Miles Sanders. I think Chuba Hubbard gets a lot of touches. By the way, you have some good options. I think Rachaad White's going to play a lot of receiver, to be honest with you. So it wouldn't surprise me if Rachaad White gets maybe 10 carries, 8 receptions, where Chuba Hubbard gets 25 carries, but may end up with only 70 yards. So I would lean towards Rachaad White. There's not a bad option here, but I would go with Rachaad White. Dave, what's up, brother? Danny boy, what's going down? So do we think Pickens is getting more points than Kupp did? I have a feeling he'll have a better game than Kupp. I feel like Kupp had an average game, Rodgers or Kyler. All right, because I answered Rodgers and Kyler earlier. If you're in a situation where you need points, go with Rodgers. If you want to roll dice, Kyler Murray could have a massive game. Pickens is, I think, a legit number one receiver. He could have a massive game. I mean, the front seven in New York solid, but the offense is so bad against the Steelers defense. This could easily be a 20-7 game where the Steelers throw the ball maybe 15 times all game. Giants score it all. Russell Wilson and Pickens had some chemistry, so I mean, you have some upside with Pickens. Now, Kupp did get in the end zone. You can't bank on the touchdown, but I think Pickens is Pickens is undisputed the number one receiver. Is he a number one guy in fantasy? I think he's a low-end one. If I remember right, you're in a 12-man league, so I think he could be a low-end one, high-end two. I forget how your lineup is, but if you want to roll the dice with Kyler Murray, you have unlimited potential. I do think Rodgers is more likely to get you that steady. Rodgers will definitely have 200 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns. but let's just say 201. Most fantasy leagues, that will put you at 15 plus. All right. Kyler Murray could have 130 yards and 3 picks and a fumble and get you maybe negative, depending on how your league scores turnovers. Kyler Murray could also go for 300 and 100 and might be able to put you up 50 points. Rodgers definitely isn't doing that. Not the best answer, but if you need points, go with Rodgers. You want to roll the dice with some massive upside, go with Kyler Murray. I Pickens, I have no clue, but I do think between Pickens and Kupp, I would have started Pickens. I understand about Green Bay's offense. Bateman, Judy, Tillman, Coleman are on waivers as well. I have Wicks in and Sterling Shepard on the bench. Drop one. So you see, I'm not going to rant about Wicks, but let's talk about Shepard for a bit. Now, Shepard and Baker Mayfield played together at Oklahoma. Shepard right now, believe it or not, is the number 1 receiver in Tampa. Unlimited upside. Unlimited upside. With Judy and Tillman, you don't know who's playing quarterback. You have a lot of unknown there. Bateman and Coleman are interesting, but look, Shepard's the number 1 dude in Tampa. Baker and Shepard played together in a very high-powered offense in Oklahoma. So would he? I wouldn't drop Shepard. Listen. Can you do me a favor? Can you hold on to Shepard for right now? I'm not sold on Wicks. You could go with any option you want. I love Jerry Jeudy coming out of college. I kept on expecting him to blow up. This could be the week. I would go Jeudy over Tillman. Of those 4, I would go with Jeudy, but can you do me a favor? If you want to drop Wicks and pick up Jeudy, I wouldn't blame you. Just please do me a favor. Can you hold on for Sterling Shepard for just 1 week? He could have a good game. This could be a guy that's like a steady 8 to 10 catch performer going on out. So do me a favor and hold on to Shepard for a little bit. Just do it for me. If he doesn't produce this week or he doesn't get a lot of targets, you could drop him. I won't be mad. Out of these guys, Jeudy has massive upside. I loved him coming out of college. He went to some SEC school. I don't remember. It's kind of a joke because I see Keas in the green room there, and one of Keas's fellow YouTube members for his channel went to Alabama. So this is just awesome. What a great day. A bunch of super chats and some great comments here. You were able to pull off the Puka and T. Higgins for a Amon-Ra trade. Thanks for the advice. So you were able to get Amon-Ra. I feel bad because Puka had a big game. So no, I know. This is awesome. I'm actually on the commercial break. I'm going to get an energy drink. So this is going to be awesome. Amazement. I'm so good. You know what though? Seriously. Hey, listen. Winning in betting is good. My Bet US account started off with a $100 deposit. I'm at $270, and yeah. Hey, let's you know what? If I can help turn around your league, that's great. But the most important thing is that we win you some money. So let's continue with the betting. There's some good opportunities here. Is there anything that you're doing this week? Let us know. Oh yeah, you were in the Keepers League. Ravens show, yo. Nice. Thank you. Keaton Talk Sports. Rams only 1 game back from first place with them getting healthy. I see them taking the division. I think 49ers Super window is officially shut. I agree with you. What a great place to go on a commercial break. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. I'm bringing Keas in for hour number 3. Give me 1 minute, and then we'll be back for after for hour 3 of Afternoon Delight. So stay tuned.
As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video's in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. It really helps out when you hit that subscribe button. So if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you're notified about upcoming videos and live streams. Comments really help this community out, so drop a comment, ring the bell, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Wait, you haven't watched the award-winning NFL Week 8 picks video yet? How will you know who wins and what the score is? Okay, lucky for you, the link is in the description below. Finish watching the show, then watch this great video. Drop a comment on your predictions for all 16 games or just your favorite team. It really helps the algorithm out. Now, back to the show.
Yes! What a treat, mostly for me. I got Keas, the K from the BAK Talk Brothers, joining us for hour 3 of Afternoon Delight. Keas, welcome, brother.
Hey, Dan, it's good to be back on.
It's I'm kind of geeked out. So did it take you 2 or 3 hours to grow the beard?
Actually, I shaved while you were doing that commercial.
I'm so jealous. This right here literally took me weeks. This is all. I don't look good with facial hair. You, on the other hand, look fantastic with facial hair. Keas, for those of those out there who do not know who you are, can you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Sure. I am the K in the BAK Talk Bros. And we're fellow Chiefs fans like Dan, and we talk about the Chiefs and pretty much anything else.
It's a great channel that you have. I would love to see more content, but currently it's kind of difficult with all 3 members. Gooch has been in the chat in the past. He wasn't able to come in today, but hopefully we will see Gooch come in a little later on. I wanted to touch base, and I messed up here because I was looking at some of these super chats here. I wanted to get this comment here. I'm going to start here because I thought this was kind of interesting, and I wanted to get your opinion because me and Keaton are kind of on the same page here, but I want to know what you think. The Rams, the NFC West is kind of interesting overall.
For sure.
A lot of people are hyped up about the Seahawks. San Francisco is in they're going to play Sunday night against Dallas. Great game, great matchup. After the Chiefs win by 50, I can't wait to watch San Francisco and Dallas. But Keaton says with Rams only 1 game back from first place, with them getting healthy, I see them taking the division. I believe the 49ers window is officially shut. 2-part question here. Is 49ers window shut? And are the Rams, after a very impressive performance Thursday night, are they the favorites in the NFC West?
Yeah, that win was really impressive. We've seen the Vikings defense. We've seen Flores shut down how many teams from that offensive branch so far this season. So that was a big surprise for me. And, face mask, no face mask, whatever. It was still that Rams offense still surprised me in what they were able to do because so many teams so far against this Vikings defense haven't been able to. So, I kind of have to agree in that sense. I think we've talked about this now for 2 or 3 seasons with the 49ers, right? It's always Super Bowl or injuries. It's one or the other. We were kind of split here. But it seems like if they were healthy, they're at least making the NFC Championship game, right? Not looking so hot in some aspects. That defense didn't look great, especially when they lost to the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the 49ers right now. My thing would kind of be is I'm still not sold on the rest of the division fully yet, so I might not go that far. Um, because the rest of that division may hold the door open for the 49ers, but at some point Kyle Shanahan's going to have to change some stuff up because what they got going on there isn't working. Um, so it's kind of like I'm saying yes mostly. I agree with Keaton there, um, but I still got to see a little bit more from both teams before I would be willing to go and say with 100% confidence that I 100% agree with that. So
I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I predicted Atlanta would beat up Seattle, and Seattle heavy, big win in Atlanta last week. If Seattle beats Buffalo, we're having a completely different conversation. I mean, I think Buffalo is going to go to Seattle and win, but if Seattle, can if the defense is for real, you never know. But yeah, I think it's interesting here. Keys, can you help us out with some fantasy football questions here? Jose here has, should I start Brian Robinson against the Chicago Bears or Tank Bigsby against the Green Bay excuse me, against the Green Bay Packers here? I want to get your thoughts because I have my opinion.
oh man, listen, I get fantasy football questions from my wife, and it's like I keep telling her every week, this is why every complaint she has, I'm like, this is why I've been taking a break from fantasy football for the last year or so. It racking your brain against these questions, right? We all ask these questions every week. Um, man, I would kind of lean more towards Tank. But part of that is because I got a little bit of a to borrow Dan's vernacular here. I got a little bit of a man crush on him. He's kind of a fun little bruiser to watch. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Dan, you like that Chicago Bears defense a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's really impressive. I big man crush on the Bears, especially the front seven. It's a big defense. That's kind of why I'm leaning towards Bigsby. Also, I'm not sold on Green Bay's defense. Now, little fun fact here: Robert Saleh is now on the Green Bay Packers coaching staff in a quote fluid role. Um, Keep in mind, if you don't remember Green Bay, what they did is that they fired their defensive coordinator after the season, which I thought was a mistake. They couldn't get the guy that they wanted, so they hired Jeff Hafley, who was the head coach at Boston College, which ended up Bill O'Brien leaving Ohio State to go to Boston College, and then Chip Kelly, who was the head coach at UCLA, wants nothing to do with the Big Ten, decided to take the offensive coordinator position that Bill O'Brien had at Ohio State. Kind of interesting thing how things fell apart there, but yeah, I like Tank Bigsby. Jose, listen, if Jacksonville's going to win that game, they're probably going to have to score 30. Um, Brian Thomas Jr. I think is going to have a big game, and I think Bigsby will have to have a good game if that to be competitive. Um, Chicago and Washington, despite the electricity that you're having to two young quarterbacks, one, you don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. This could be a 14-10 game. I can almost promise you Green Bay and Jacksonville is not going to be 14-10. So let me know how you do, Jose. Hit me up Monday, and hopefully you got that win. Hey, Orion, we're here to help, man. We're here to help. I was hoping the Rams will lose just so they'd be motivated to trade Demarcus Robinson back to Kansas City. To be honest, yeah. I don't know if you remember this or not, Keys. The Chiefs drafted Demarcus Robinson in the fourth round, and a guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's with the Miami Dolphins right now, aka the Cheetah in the fifth round. So it's kind of an interesting draft. the guy who made those 2 draft selections is now he doesn't have the assistant general manager title in Detroit, but when I look at the Detroit Lions and I look at the Kansas City Chiefs when John Dorsey first took over, I see a lot of similarities. I'm not sure. Am I the only person who sees this, or do you see it as well? Am I on crack here, or do the Detroit Lions kind of look like the Chiefs were when John Dorsey and Andy Reid were together, like in 2013 to I want to say 2018, 2017, or am I just not seeing it, or am I just wrong? What's your opinion?
I think in some aspects, obviously, different situations and different coaches at different points, and but yeah, I can see some of that.
Jose has another question here. McMillan or Bateman? Now, there's a question about Flowers starting, and I'm going to be honest with you. I would, even if Flowers starts, my answer would be the same. These aren't good options, Jose, but I would go with McMillan. One thing about Tampa Bay is, even though you have a defensive-minded coach, they are throwing the ball quite a bit. I think you're going to get a lot more opportunities with McMillan than you will with Bateman. I was a huge Rashad Bateman fan coming out of Minnesota. It just really hasn't panned out. Also, for all the problems Cleveland has, defense is not one of them. Defense is not one of them. Atlanta does have a good secondary. Keep in mind, they do have a good secondary. But one thing I noticed is that they used McMillan in the running game. They used him with an end around. Could get a little creative again. Neither one are good options, but I would lean towards McMillan. But I'm not a big fan of either or. Hey, Armando, man, I'm glad to help, man. I wanted to hold Shepard for a couple. Yeah, definitely hold on to Shepard. Keep in mind, Baker threw, he won Heisman there. ESPN had a thing about the top 25 college players in the last 20 years. It was very controversial because Baker Mayfield was number one. A lot of people hated that. But if you didn't watch him play at Oklahoma, he put up some crazy numbers. And, Shepard was a big part of that. Keaton, still stop begging. The 49ers are still favorites to win that division. Smitty, I didn't have a chance to look at that. I did not have a chance to look at who's favored to win. You can go to Bet US, which is a proud affiliate, and you can check to see for yourself. I didn't know that. So, but what I do like the fact that the Smitty is defending the Niners here. I know you guys say the same thing about the Niners every year. The Niners are in the picture last year, 3 losses in a row. Before we were 3-5. Relax. All right, that's fair. Chargers or 49ers defense to start? I'm going to have Keas start off with this one here. Now, the Chargers host the Saints. Unknown who's going to start at quarterback. Still in play. 49ers play on Sunday night against Dallas. Keys, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm leaning Chargers here. Especially the Saints started out really strong the first couple weeks on offense, and it has not looked good since then. And I think that the Chargers still have enough pieces on that defense. And I don't know how many Chiefs fans other than me actually respect the other teams in our division, but every year, I still look at each team fairly strongly. So I think that the Chargers Chargers defense, for me is one that I respect enough that that's probably the way that I would head. But you let me know what you think, Dan. I just think that Saints offense isn't exactly clicking right now, and the Chargers still have enough playmakers to do a little bit of damage.
I agree completely. The one thing is that, Smitty, even if the 49ers win this game, there's much more possibility of this being a shootout I actually am kind of expecting kind of a shootout and a little bit of fireworks between San Francisco and Dallas. But even if Derek Carr gets the start, and I'm a level with you, I think Derek Carr is going to try to gut it out and play. When you don't practice all week against a good defense, it's hard to believe that they're going to light it up like they did. So I would definitely go with the Chargers. By the way, I remember this 3-game losing streak, and it was completely revolved around Trent Williams. Trent Williams went down, and the 49ers lost some games. And yeah, I understand. I'm more impressed with the way the Rams looked, and that's why I think the Rams are now the favorite. Just because that Vikings defense is really good. And by the way, let's say that face mask penalty is called, right? It was less than 2 minutes. They have to go 80 yards with no timeouts, and I think it was a minute 20, a minute 30. Were they really going to do it? They put up 20 points all game. Look, no timeouts, 80 seconds, 80 yards. And they got to score 8 points too. That's another thing. There's maybe you score a touchdown. Are you also getting the 2 points? And then you go into overtime. Yeah, there's no guarantee that even with the face mask penalty called it was a bad call, but Funk brings up some good points. What similarities? It's not that they made a move for a questionable quarterback from the NFC West, and so the first picks were OT's away. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities to the way. When I look at the Detroit Lions, I see a lot of John Dorsey's fingerprints and what he did with Kansas City. So that's just my personal opinion. Keas, I've had you on for about 15 minutes, and I haven't had a chance to even bring up DeAndre Hopkins. So forgive me. Can you? I want to know your opinion.
All right. Can I answer? Can I respond to this really quick?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you could say this about a number of teams, a lot of them in the NFC, right? Even the 49ers, we know how their season ends every year too. So, what are we really saying here about the Vikings? This is a different Vikings team, right? And we've talked about what Brian Flores brings to that defense. And I had high hopes for the Vikings this year just based off of that, right? I remember some guys were already writing the Vikings out and thought that they were probably going to be third or fourth place in this division. I'm not going to name any names, but we'll see what happens with them. But I wouldn't write them out in the NFC. They had the way that they had looked this season so far. They're a legitimate contender in the NFC, and there's not that many from what I've seen, right? 2 of them might be in the same division. Personally, I would put the 49ers over the Rams, but if you want to throw the Rams in there, those might be my 4 teams that I would pick in the NFC to have a legit shot. Going a little off script here, but DeAndre Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins is going to bring something to this receiving room that, when the receivers are healthy, he's still going to bring something different. And I think that's a great thing. Our receiving core and even Travis have had issues getting separation against zone. That's kind of one of DeAndre's strengths. I've wanted a receiver like him for 2 years now, 3 years now. I wanted Veach to go out and get Mike Williams. Some of these kind of similar guys, right? Guys who can win one-on-ones, guys who can get some jump balls. DeAndre Hopkins might have the best hands of any receiver that we've had in Kansas City, and I don't even know how long. And I'm going to include that over Travis, because Travis is, he has his moments too, right? And part of that is that's just kind of the way Pat and Travis are. The concentration isn't always 100% in games, but you're looking at a guy who is going to be revigorated. He's already talked about he hasn't played meaningful football in a couple years or so. And, as one meme said, what? He went to sleep 1-5 and woke up 6-0. I mean, that's a hell of a thing. So, I just think all the way around, this is going to be a positive for the Chiefs offense. And it brings a legitimate receiver that we really haven't had since we traded Tyreek to, the Dolphins. Maybe, Sammy Watkins when he was healthy. Right. So I think in the near future, you had to make a move, right? But looking towards the playoffs, if you get Hollywood Brown back, if you have Juju back, Xavier Worthy has a whole season, under his belt heading into the playoffs, I think this is a great place to be with this offense because the defense has been great and Spags is always going to be a great coach, but, defense can regress and it can happen really quickly. And we're starting to get guys banged up over there. So you can't count on, that defense being able to hold the line through 17 games and the whole playoffs.
I thought you said something interesting. He hadn't had a receiver with the really great hands. Fun fact, DeAndre Hopkins replaced Sammy Watkins at Clemson. That was a little fun fact there. But having a guy with the great hands and he's going to bring something to the receiving room, I think is really key. I also like the fact that you got him and Juju, big targets. You also have, Travis Kelce, 6'6", big dude. Then you get the 4-2-1 with Worthy. So it kind of fits like a hand in the glove.
And McCoy.
I thought he was going to Tampa Bay. To me, that just made sense. I mean, Tampa Bay, I thought he would fit in with Tampa Bay, but when I found out he was coming to Kansas City, I'm over the moon personally. I'm really excited. I think he's going to score against the Raiders. I really do. I think he's going to get at least in the end zone once. I really, really, really believe that. The Smitty, they're not contenders is what I'm saying. I've been watching the NFL since I was a kid, and the majority of the same teams are in the pictures. The Vikings blew a chance in 98 and with Brett Favre. So the Smitty, I don't have it ready available, but if you go to my list, I have a playlist of top 10. I have top 10 teams to never make the Super Bowl. That 98 Vikings team is number one, and I show some clips on it. Actually, we can go old school. I can go older than that. The best team that the Vikings had was I'm drawing a blank on the year. I want to say 75. You've heard the expression Hail Mary. That started with the best team the Vikings ever had, and Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson pushing off. That was probably the best team in Vikings history. The Vikings lost the previous two Super Bowls, and then the next year they lost to the Super Bowl. The only team that didn't make the Super Bowl that year, Fran Tarkenton won NFL MVP, and Chuck Foreman had 19 touchdowns in the 14-game season. That team would also be included. Great Vikings teams that didn't get it done. But one thing about a snake-bitten franchise is that you get one. I mean, the Saints were a snake-bitten franchise. Everybody said the same thing. They had a flood, Hurricane Katrina. They won a Super Bowl. The Chiefs were snake bitten. Now we've won 3. Tampa Bay. I mean, you have to go back way, 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 way back. But the same people said the same thing about the Raiders. They won a Super Bowl, of course, a long, long, long time ago. But as far as them being, they're not contenders. I think they are. I really do. The defense is good. They got playmakers. Right now, I think Detroit's not only the number 1 seed. I mean, look at Detroit. I have some questions about their defense. Washington, I got the standings pulled up. So here's how it goes. I'm going to give you just the top four. Detroit, number one. That's kind of a no-brainer, my opinion. I'm going to ask Keas here in just a second after I rant. I'm on energy drink number 3, so I apologize, Keas. I'm ranting a little too much. Washington at number 2. The way the playoffs were to start right now, Washington be number 2 seed. I'm not sold on them. Seattle's the number 3 seed. Not sold on them. Atlanta's the 4 seed. Not really sold on them either. Keas, so I kind of ranted and rolled here for a while, but this is also very interesting. We'll see you in Super Bowl for part 3. I would enjoy it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I mean, are the Vikings really not contenders? I mean, I mean, you're 5-2. What else could you want? You have a good defense, playmakers. I mean,
Yeah, again, I'll say it. I think the Vikings, again, the 4 teams I would say are actually legit contenders in the NFC are the Lions, the 49ers, the Vikings, and I'm going to say the Rams right now. Now, if you're an NFC person who wants to argue for the Cowboys or Eagles, that's fine. But, Smitty's talking about, not being real contenders and we know how their season ends. Well, you can say the same thing about the Cowboys. You can say the same thing about the Eagles. Like every year it looks basically the same once you get into the playoffs. And the Vikings, I think, are clearly a playoff team. Now, a lot can change as the season goes on, right? It only takes one injury, one strategic injury. In this case, they did have that with their left tackle. So they're going to have to figure that out, on the offensive side. But, I had questions on the offense to begin with, right? My belief, I think when we talked about this in the preseason, was mostly invested in Brian Flores and what that defense was going to bring to the table. But, you still have Darnold. You still have Justin Jefferson, right? Like, I think that there's enough there that, to me, I'm putting them as one of those 4 teams. Like you said, when you look at the standings and you see Washington there, now, are we really going to argue that they're more legit contenders than the Vikings? The Vikings have been there, have been close the last year or two. Like they built themselves up just like the Lions. They're just like a year or so behind them, kind of like the Packers. So all 3 of these teams, I think, we're going to be talking about them for, the next 3 or 4 years as legitimate contenders, and each one having a legit shot at that division. But, anything can happen. But, just as Smitty doesn't want us to count out the 49ers, and, I didn't. We probably shouldn't count out the Rams either. And, I'm not sold on McCarthy, and I'm not. I'm not sold on Dak or McCarthy, and I'm not sold on Prick Sirianni as a head coach. So, until there's a move made in Philly, to me, even though on paper they have the pieces to be contenders, I'm going to put the Vikings ahead of them. And I'm going to trust them, and I'm going to trust them more than even I would Washington at this point.
I agree with that completely. Now, the Smitty, Mike Evans is going to be out a couple weeks. Tampa Bay has a week 11 bye. I don't think he's going to play till week 12, and it's kind of a shame because Tampa Bay's next 3 games are pretty tough. They get Atlanta at home. They come to a certain Midwest town on Monday night to play number 15 and somebody, you can't see with the shirt on, but yeah, they play Monday night. That's going to be a tough one. Then they host San Francisco before the bye. There's a realistic chance that Tampa Bay, who right now they're 4-3. I mean, there's a realistic chance you could be 5-5 or 4-6. Um, but yeah, Evans is out. I think he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. The plan is, I think Tampa wants to wait till the bye and get him. But Smitty, I will say this, man, we need more San Francisco 49ers fans in this community. I work with a couple of them, and all I heard was trash talk all week when they played the Chiefs, and I just kind of chuckled. Really, I just right now, Kansas City's the best team in football, but I'll be honest, I would love to see a San Francisco Chiefs rematch. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Cowgirls are definitely not contenders. According to the media, they are. So, according to the media, they are. Keys, I got a treat with you being on here, so I want to talk a little Chiefs since I'm here in Vegas, and since I'm here in Vegas, I kind of want to talk about the matchup. You may have heard, but there was a Raiders defensive back who dressed up a Kermit the Frog puppet and put a 15 jersey on him and said, "I'm a bitch." Can we talk about the matchup and what we're looking for Chiefs Raiders here in beautiful Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think I already said this in the chat, but my hope is that uh, we kind of zag in this game because I think that Antonio Pierce, I think Jack Jones, I think that defense as a whole is hoping, Max Crosby, I think they're hoping that we come out, ultra pass heavy to kind of ram it down their throats because of that whole little sound bite. Clearly Patrick Mahomes, it means something to him. He tried to play it off this week. We know he heard it. He heard about it when it happened. We know that they're kind of like those Patriots teams. They will use anything and everything to fuel them. But I'm really hoping that we're not going to do kind of like what Greg Roman would do with Lamar when they were playing the Chiefs, or some of these other offensive coordinators trying to make their quarterback go head to head with Mahomes. I'm really hoping we don't kind of go that route, because I think that their game plan is predicated on that. I think that's exactly what they're hoping we will do, right? And I think you're just going to see just so much too high in this game that for me I want to see kind of a repeat of that 49ers game. I do. I give the ball to Kareem Hunt. Let them smash it down their throat. Let them run it 25, 35 times. Right? That's kind of my thought. Soften them up. Go with the play action, second or third quarter. Really have some fun with it in that way, because I think that they're geared towards the pass in this game, coming into this game, because I think that's what they're hoping, and I think it could possibly get ugly for Pat if that happens. Because if you look back to that Christmas game, whether we like it or not, and it was fuel for the rest of the season, our offense didn't look good against their defense. And that game alone probably got Antonio Pierce his extension, right? And got him that interim tag taken off just for that game. And so, for me, but I'll say this. If there is a game where Kansas City blows out an opponent, it'll be this game. And for those of you guys who are watching, who are not familiar with the Chiefs, I'm not saying that predicated on talent. I'm not saying that Kansas City is so much more talented than the Raiders that they'll blow them out. Andy Reid is too respectful to blow out teams. But this is the kind of situation, and this team in particular is one where if the Chiefs can blow out an opponent, Andy won't generally take his foot off the gas like he does every other game, or most games, unless there's other similar situations to this. So if there is a blowout, it could be this game or the other Raiders game, simply because of that component. Andy takes his foot off the gas nearly every game once the Chiefs get a lead. So if the Chiefs get a lead in this game and we see how the offense goes, we'll kind of have an idea of which Andy Reid we're going to see the rest of the game and what kind of offensive, outpouring we're going to see in the game, in my opinion.
I agree completely. For those of you who don't know, Christian Wilkins, the big free agent acquisition that I really wanted here in Kansas City. I'm a huge Christian Wilkins fan. He's been out. And so the Raiders are kind of, you have Max Crosby. You have some other defensive ends that can get after the quarterback. And they do have some good corners and some good secondary pieces in order for the Raiders to really match up. And how they beat Kansas City, they got a pick six. That was, it wasn't the offense, it was the defense scoring points. So the best way to match up against Kansas City. ESPN's not the best site, but Dylan Parham, the starting guard for the Raiders, a third-round pick out of Memphis, guy I loved, he's out. So you have some problems now on the offensive line. Jacoby Myers, now the number one receiver, also is listed on the injury report. He's questionable for the game. So how are you going to beat Kansas City? Well, you're not going to win in a shootout. Let's be honest. You're going to win in a low-scoring game, and you're better suited to have Kansas City throw the ball heavy than run the ball heavy. And I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a good game. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to get in the end zone, and we could have a Travis Kelce end zone celebration dance coming too. Austin, what is up, brother?
Yeah,
what is up, brother? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to add to that because you bring up a point, right? And in that game, Aiden O'Connell, didn't even complete a pass in the second half of the game, right? Like, I think that this is the interesting thing about this Chiefs offense, and it kind of goes back to what I said. When we get receivers healthy at the end of the season, going into the playoffs, I think that's what really makes this team theoretically much scarier. Right? Because you're seeing this run game, and the Chiefs have the number one most efficient running offense on first and second downs, or they were the last time I checked. So this is a team now who is using other teams' offensive strategies against them. The Chiefs are running the ball. They are shortening the game. They are killing time of possession, and they're putting the pressure back on the other offenses, which, is making Steve Spagnuolo's job a little bit easier. And it's also making, it's like double pressure on those offenses because this defense is good. Steve Spagnuolo is good. If anyone heard Tom Brady, the telecast calling the Chiefs and 49ers, he was gushing all over Spagnuolo, for how he terrorized him as a quarterback. And so you're putting all this pressure on these other offenses now because, listen, the Chiefs can score just like that if they want to. They have the ability to, and we've seen them when they've needed to just score like that. But now that they're doing this ball control and they're willing to just ram it down your throat 25, 30 times a game, and they're putting all this pressure on the other offense because now all of a sudden they flip the script. Every possession for the opposing offense is that more precious to them because most offenses, right? And we're not talking about the Lions, and some of these better offenses. We're talking in general, most of these other offenses and even the 49ers offense is more predicated on the run game. Now when they're trying to run the ball, they're shooting themselves in the foot. When they're trying to limit possessions, they're actually limiting their own possessions as well. And if you're not a team who can score just like that, like the Chiefs can and a couple other teams are, you're hurting yourself a lot more and you're making the Chiefs defense's job that much easier. So just throwing that out there.
No, I just pulled it up here. The last two games, Kareem Hunt against the Saints, a pretty good defense. 27 carries, 102 yards. Against 49ers, another really good defense, 22 carries and 78 yards. But, the last two games, 49 carries for Kareem Hunt. And keep in mind, we don't mind giving Kareem Hunt 25 plus carries because in about a month from now, maybe 6 weeks, we're going to get Isaiah Pacheco. CEH, I think, is going to play next week. I don't know the whole CEH situation, but Kareem Hunt getting 25 carries against the Raiders, not out of the question. Not out of the question. He's a bigger back. He has some size, and you're missing Christian Wilkins in the middle. So I understand the Raiders doing that, trying to get the Chiefs into a passing contest. But I'd like to see the Chiefs be a little more balanced, and we'll find out what happens. Don't forget, I will be doing live play-by-play for Chiefs Raiders, so make sure you tune in for that. Smitty, um, I don't know how much of the show you caught or didn't, but I've said this a couple times. I'm going to get Keys' opinion, but I want to go first. Javonte Williams, I think, is a must start this week. He had a few days extra rest, and he had a monster game against the Saints. Okay, so he had a few days extra rest. The Carolina Panthers is having a historically bad season on defense. Their best player, Derek Brown's out for the year. I think second week of the season, he's out for the year. They had a bunch of starters leave via free agency, and look, I can't emphasize this. I think Javonte Williams is. There's probably not 5 running backs I would start over Javonte Williams in fantasy football this week. You're going against Denver. You're going against Carolina. The thin air is a real thing. If you've not been to Denver before, it's a real thing. It's tough to get used to. Devontae Johnson is not playing. Andy Dalton, involved in a traffic accident, isn't playing. I really think that Javonte is going to have a monster game. I 100% say Javonte Williams. Ramondre going against the Jets defense, not that good. Not a bad option. Chase Brown has been getting more touches than Zach Moss. Another thing, not a bad option, but to me, this is a no-brainer. Go with Javonte Williams. You're going to thank me. Come back to me Monday, and hopefully you're doing some gloating. Keys, Javonte Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, or Chase Brown, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, there's no reason for me to waste your airtime by saying anything other than I'm right there with you. My wife has them, and I told her to start them, so I'm right there with you.
Absolutely. Aaron, what's up? Look at this. We got Aaron in the chat. That's awesome. IDK, Bills or Chiefs defense? Look, you're talking to a couple Chiefs fans. First off, but I'm going to get Keys' opinion first here. IDK was nice enough to leave a super chat. New subscriber to the show, so I want to give him some love here. Keys, can you help my brother out here? Which one should he choose this week?
Listen, I might be a little biased on this, but do we know who's playing quarterback for the Raiders? Is it?
It's Gardner Minshew. Yeah,
Minshew?
No, Aiden O'Connell's out for 4 to 6 weeks. He broke his thumb. They recently signed Desmond Ridder. He's going to be the backup quarterback. He just arrived, I think, last week. Guy, I don't know if you remember, but I loved him coming out of Cincinnati. Just things hasn't panned out so far. But yeah, Minshew's getting the start.
So I'm just going to give my logic here, right? Because to me, I think the Seahawks offense is more volatile in what they're going to be able to produce. I think it's just way too hard to predict, right? They can have some great games and then just some head scratching games. But for me, we've talked about Minshew. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not going to win you games. And I said it before the season started, and we've seen him lose you games because he won't win you games. And when you get to those pressure packed moments, he will throw an interception. Like that's what I've seen from him. To me, you just got rid of, Devontae. If there was a reason I would hesitate about going with the Chiefs defense, it's because they're like one of the top 2 or 3 teams for defenses to give up yards to tight ends. And you have, 2 decent tight ends in Vegas. But I mean, what is that offense going to look like now? Right? I like that offense a lot better last year when you had Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. So does Spags have a plan to stop the tight ends? I think it, is the biggest question. And, at the end of the day, if the Chiefs can get a lead and a decent lead, what's that offense going to look like for Vegas? I don't know. You go with whatever you want to. For me, this game feels like there's a better chance that Vegas doesn't have an offense in the game. And I just don't know what to expect at this point in the season from Seattle's offense week in and week out. That's who the Bills are playing, right?
Yeah.
Is Seattle.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my feeling. But hey, listen, if you really love the Bills defense, you might pick them simply because, as I said, there's that tight end question and how the Chiefs defense is handling them. Now, on the flip side, a lot of those yards are on teams with legit quarterbacks and legit receiver options, right? You got the Bengals game where you're taking away Jamar Chase. And so that's where you're getting some of those tight end yards. And you have the Baltimore game, where you're taking away Derrick Henry and you're taking away Lamar a little bit and his receiving options, so you get Isaiah Likely. So it just, it's going to kind of depend on how you feel in this game. But is Justin Reed playing? Because I know he was banged up, and I'm not sure if he's playing or not.
No, ESPN's never the best source, but according to ESPN, he's not even on the injury report. Because I got that pulled up right now. So Reed's going to play. Byron Cook's going to play. Dana is out. But I don't know. I just looked. The Bills have 19 sacks. The Chiefs only have 10. The Chiefs last year were second in the NFL in sacks. Kind of down this year, but part of that has to do with the way the Chiefs are just showing pressure and they're getting a lot of pressure, just not a lot of sacks.
Right.
Bills also have more interceptions, but the one thing is about the Bills is with Seattle, you have no idea. I mean, they put up 34 against a really, really good Falcons defense and a really good secondary. I could also see Geno Smith throwing 3 or 4 picks. But look, the number one receiver is in New York. They've made some changes. You have backup quarterback. I checked out the injury report. Jacoby Myers, their number one receiver, quote unquote, injured. Parnham, their starting right guard, out. I would lean towards the Chiefs, but you're in a good situation, though, because either one, I think the Bills will get some sacks and are possibly more likely to get a pick or two. But anytime you're going against a backup quarterback, even though he was a starter, it's always an advantage to your defense. So either one you go with, I think you're going to be good. But I would lean towards the Chiefs just a hair, but you're not making a bad decision one way or another. Aaron's going to say Stevenson, the Smitty. I've been saying this all week, man. Javonte Williams against maybe one of the all-time worst defenses ever. You want to go that route, but you got some differences of opinion. That's why I like having some good people in the chat. It's the first time we've had Aaron in the chat for a while. I have San Francisco starting over the Bills defense personally. Just full disclosure, man. Full disclosure, the Cowboys are fresh off of a bye, and so just throwing that out there. All right, he's starting to fall asleep. Thanks, man. Hey, I don't know. Come back Monday. Let me know what you're doing. True or false, Dan? The Jets should flip Adams after losing the. Oh man. I believe I think they're going to beat the Patriots, and I actually think the Jets are going to start getting things turned around. I actually believe this. I think the Jets, after they win, I think the Jets are going to start getting hot. I really do. I think the Jets are going to turn things around. They got some winnable games coming up. They play Houston. Tough game, I know. But at Arizona, home against the Colts, they have a bye, and then Seattle, at Miami, at Jacksonville. You could have 5 straight wins right there, believe it or not. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to ask Keaton here first, or I'm going to ask Keas. I'm sorry. I got kind of. I'm going to ask Keys here first. Here, Jordan Love over Jalen Hurts-esque NFL casual, a new subscriber to the channel. Keys, what are your thoughts?
For me, I'm leaning towards Love, and I might be starting to come around a little bit. You know, the last couple of years or so, I was very low on LaFleur and Love, but
I was too. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm higher on him than I am Hurts.
Well, one thing me and you have always agreed upon is Lou Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, is one of the better defensive minds in football. And he's over the last couple of weeks, the Bengals defense has been really good. They're playing a guy by the name of Miles Murphy, their first round pick from 2 weeks ago, or for 2 years ago. They're playing him a little more. He's going to be a star. Like they got some things going on in Cincinnati. I have no confidence in Jacksonville's defense, NFL casual, but I like Lou Anarumo and I like him at home. You're in a good situation because you got 2 really good quarterbacks, but both me and Keys both agree Jordan Love. I think Love's going to have a good game against a bad Jags defense. So I would go with Jordan Love. I love this. This is why, Keys, I need you to come back more. I need stuff like this. The Dolphins sex sounds. Keys, this is your brother here, man. Help him out. Walker the third, Lockett, JSN, and Metcalf. Are you starting one? Needing to? What's going on, Aaron? I need a little more context here. Well,
he said he was starting San Francisco over the Bills, so I'm wondering if he's not just giving you his lineup.
I don't know. I mean it's
give us some more context, brother.
Yeah, are you just naming off Seahawks players? I mean, I can do that too.
Oh yeah, he might.
Is that what you're doing? Just throwing out Seahawks players, man. So for those of you who don't know, where he says this isn't a jab against me and Keys. Aaron works nights, so like he's normally asleep at this time. He just kind of woke up early. He's not. This isn't an insult towards us, if you're wondering, but I know he's a little out of it right now. But
he did. If you go back up. He did say Seattle has a hell of an offense, so I think he's just like naming all the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I really do. I mean, I just you're starting Seahawks over. I mean, but you have a pass happy team in Dallas, fresh off of a bye. Metcalf is on the injury report. He's listed as doubtful. Kenneth Walker. Always going to be one of those guys, like maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. No, I get it. I think San Francisco and Dallas is going to be a shootout. I can't wait. I'm really, yeah. Okay. Yeah. As far as, yeah, I get it. I like, I think what was the question here? Bills or, yeah, I would go with Buffalo, but, I'm also picking. I also really, really think that you're going to have I think San Francisco, Dallas is going to be a shootout. Buffalo and Seattle, I'm but yeah. Tyler, welcome back, brother. Bateman or Dell? This is kind of a tough one. I'm gonna let my brother Keas start, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion here because we had this question earlier.
This exact question?
Yeah. Not from Tyler though, but
Oh,
somebody
okay.
else asked this one earlier. But yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a hard one. So Collins is still out, right?
Collins is still out.
Um,
And then Flowers supposedly is on the injury report. Somebody brought that up earlier that Flowers is on the injury report. I was not aware of that until now, but he is he's listed as questionable. This just came up, so
yeah.
Flowers is questionable as of today.
See, these are the kinds of questions that exhausted me, and I stopped for this reason. But um, yeah, it's hard because if you look at thinking about the Ravens' offense, I don't know. I'm just gonna make this short. I think there's a better chance that Dell has a better day, um, because of the way the Ravens' offense is than Bateman. But don't hold me to that.
No, Tyler. Here's the thing with here's the deal with Bateman. You're going against a really tough Browns defense. All right. Dell's going against a banged up Colts defense. The secondary has multiple injuries. They've been running the ball a little more, and yeah, Collins is out. Flowers is questionable. So here's the deal: if Flowers, whether he plays or not, I don't know about Bateman's performance. Now, the one thing about Houston, they're running the ball a lot more this year. They're really becoming more of a balanced offense. I could see a situation where Houston gets up by 14 and they just run right over the Colts. I could 100% see that. But if this is a close game, Dell against a banged up Colts secondary or Bateman against a you can say a lot of bad things about the Cleveland Browns. The defense is really, really good. So somebody else had the same question, I think about an hour ago, may have been longer, but these aren't great options, but I would definitely lean towards Dell. Now, the closer this game is, the better stats Dell could have, because if Houston has to become more of a balanced offense, you have a chance for Dell to just blow up. I see no situation where Bateman, he could have your best case for Bateman is that he gets a blown coverage and gets one of those 60-yard touchdowns. That's what you're looking at. So, yeah, I really don't think it's going to be. I actually don't think if Flowers is out, I would still go with Dell. That's how I feel about it. But just full disclosure, Houston gets up early. I have no confidence in Anthony Richardson going back there and just, oh yeah, I'm just going. Yeah, I have no confidence in Anthony Richardson. Hopefully, for your sake, hopefully they bench Richardson, put in Flacco, and it's a shootout, and Dell gets a lot of points. You really think Buffalo and Seattle is going to be a shootout? All right. It could be. Buffalo's defense has been pretty good this year, and I'm not sold on Seattle. I think it's more likely Buffalo blows out Seattle, but it could be. Schmitty, well, hello, new to the channel. Would you start Drake London or AJ Brown for wide receiver number 2 since Jetta is my wide receiver number 1? I'll ask Keys first. Drake London or AJ Brown? This is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. I don't even know if I want to answer this one, Dan, because I know that you actually bet on the game, so you're looking at them all a lot closer than I am. So,
all right, I'm gonna take. Okay, so here's your drill. You have Drake London against the Bucks. Now, last time they played against the Bucks, he blew up. You have Antoine Winfield coming back. The game's in Tampa. I don't think it's going to be a shootout again. Now, AJ Brown's going against a Lou Amaruno defense. Me and Keys are both huge Lou Amaruno fans, so you do have a tough matchup. This is a tough one, but I would go with AJ Brown, and the reason why I go with AJ Brown is that you do have some issues in the secondary that they're trying to shore up in Cincinnati. They're starting corner Dax Hill's out for the year. Now Tampa, they have a bunch of starters returning, and Drake London just ate them alive. This is going to be a big game. Full disclosure, I did pick the Bengals to win, but I like AJ Brown to be a little more productive. But Smitty, I'm going to be honest with you. I say this a lot. I'd rather you not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose. I would go with AJ Brown, but you have two really, really, really good options here. I don't think you can make a bad decision, but I would lean toward AJ Brown. Guys, I am at hour 3. I have to end the show now. Keys, before I get off the air, final thoughts, words, concerns, thoughts, anything at all. The floor is yours.
Oh man, I didn't prepare a speech for this, but fantasy football betting, unless you're using Dan's money, anything can happen any given Sunday. It's not just a cliche. It's a cliche because it reflects real life. And so, listen, take Dan's advice with a grain of salt. Take my advice with 2 or 3 grains of salt. Unless you're betting with Dan's money, then, listen, just put it all out there. So, bet responsibly. Do not let your precious moments on earth be consumed with all of these fantasy football questions every week, or watching the games and keeping track of your score religiously. I may or may not be talking to my wife if she's listening. Life is too precious for that. Just enjoy the games. Enjoy, competing and your camaraderie with the other people on your fantasy football teams, and have fun with your smack talk or whatever, and just enjoy life.
All right. Keys has some good words there. Aldo, I get Neighbors and McBride. I give away Bajan and Kincaid. Okay, this is the tough one. Now remember, Neighbors had that injury. He had that concussion, but he is a legit starting number 1 wide receiver. All right. Look, Bijan Robinson's a 3-down back. I'm not a fan in a full PPR league of giving away a 3-down back for a wide receiver, even one that's been wildly productive like Neighbors. Now, Kincaid and McBride, I have a man crush on Kincaid. I always have. McBride's been wildly more productive. I would not recommend making this trade. And the reason why is that you have some upside with Kincaid. You're improving your tight end position, but you're giving away a 3-down back in an offense that's probably just going to get better. That concussion, he was out for almost 3 weeks. That really bothers me, even though he is a legit wide receiver number 1. You do have some questions about the offense. Remember, the quarterback got benched. If you're in a situation that I have to end the show, so I can't answer everything, but I do want to emphasize, Aldo, you can hit me up on you can drop a comment on this channel. I'll answer you before the weekend's over. You can also hit me up on Instagram. You can also X, Twitter. You can go old school, email me at dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. If you have multiple running backs and you're missing a receiver, maybe you make this trade, but I'm not a fan. I think you're giving up more than you're receiving on a weekly basis. So I advise against this trade. I have AJ Brown in London. I lost Evans and Godwin, so I'm starting both. AJ Brown, Drake are getting every week. I'm not saying a bad choice can be made. No, I mean, you got 2 good ones. All right, Aldo, if you want to, I have to end the show now, but drop a comment with the rest of your roster. But unless you're stacked at running back, don't make this trade. Have a great weekend. I'll be back. Oh, wait a minute. You got Kyron. That makes things a little interesting, but I mean, unless you're really hurting at receiver, Aldo, I really wouldn't want you to get rid of one of these. I really wouldn't want to get rid of the John Robinson, because even though you started Kyron last night and Derrick Henry, you have to start. So I'm not a fan of it, but if you have a hole at wide receiver, maybe you do make this move. You do improve your tight end position. I got to end the show, Aldo, but hit me up. Diggs and more. You know what? I apologize. If these are your other receivers, then yeah, make this move. All right. I'm wrong. Make the move. Aldo, let me know what you decide in the comments below. I got to end the show. Guys, have a great weekend. I'll be back for Chiefs Raiders live. Make sure you tune in. I'll see you all hopefully Sunday.